Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today. DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the 2-time world champion DPK Alonso Kart factory team in Europe.
In partnership with Team Binnick, they offer drivers a complete career path from the Americas to Europe that allows them to continue their driver development on both sides of the world, all underneath the DPK umbrella.
For more information, contact DPK Americas at max@drivensm.com to take the next step in your driver development journey today.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
K1 Circuit, the world's greatest outdoor karting facility, is now open. Open karting and rental session schedules are available online. Rentals will resume today after the race event at 5 p.m. Thanks to Kart Chaser for live streaming the event at K1 Circuit, your coverage will resume shortly.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to Charlotte Motor Speedway for the CKNA Spring Nationals. Before we get started with our first of 9 main events, we'd like to ask that all of those here in the pit area today please stand for a moment for the Canadian National Anthem and immediately followed by the U.S. National Anthem. Welcome back, everybody, to the Charlotte Motor Speedway. Brady Shad and the number 65 BJR PPK Coyote getting set to lead your field to green here, folks. We are so excited to bring you 9 back-to-back main events. It is going to be another fantastic day of racing action here from America's home for racing. Nathan Dupuis, Sam Tutwiler, the rest of the junior field are ready to go. They're 50 deep. We saw the LCQs earlier. Now, oh man, looked like we were going to get the green there. Not on the first time by here, Alex. We're going to have to send them around again and try again.
Yeah, I thought it actually looked pretty good there to get rolling, but I think they were going a little bit too quick for Mr. Jason Burgess' liking there. And again, we know he likes to have his starts nice and clean, and we like to see it too because no one wants to have their day end early on the outside of the first couple of corners. So let's see if these drivers can get it all figured out and slow it down a little bit here. Otherwise, if you're Nate Dupuis, if you're Hudson Erlin, if you're Brady Shad, right, those guys on the front row, the last thing you want to have happen to you is end up on row 3 to start the race, because we know the rule here is that Cup Karts North America is 2 go-arounds, and then up to the discretion of obviously Burgess and the entire CKNA staff, they can actually invert row 2 to row 1 and then row 1 back to row 3. We saw it happen in the LCQ earlier in senior medium. We saw it happen in the senior light heat number 1 with Caleb Gafera and Isaac Malkowit. A couple drivers out of the line here. Yellow flag is out. We're not going to get the green. And Brady Shad and Hudson Erlin looked a little bit frustrated there, and rightfully so, because at this point we know 2 go-arounds and they might end up on row number 3, and that's exactly what's happened here. Nate Dupuis now and Sam Tutwiler are going to lead the field to the green, and just like that, it's as easy as 2 go-arounds. Maybe not even your fault as to why the field won't go green. You still end up on row 3 instead.
So our first invert on our very first attempt at getting this show on the road. Let's see if we can do it a little bit better. This time with a different front row and different second row now with a shakeup. So Henry Taylor moves from 6th up to 4th. Ryan Sukina 5th to 3rd. And your front row now, Nathan Dupuis on the Sodi there on your right. Sam Tutwiler on your left, trying to keep them slow. And we're going to send it around, and we have smoked quite a few clutches right here. In fact, one is just about on fire, and there is all kinds of pushing and shoving and heavy contact at the very back of the field here, Alex.
Yeah, it's not the first time we've seen the situation happen. I know under the lights we saw quite a bit of smoke go up in the air because I forgot which class it was, but we had a couple of go-arounds here. This is already now try number 4. The same rule applies for Tutwiler and for Dupuis. If they don't get the green this time around, all of a sudden Henry Taylor, Ryan Sakina, they thought they were rolling off 5th and 6th. They would end up 1st and 2nd. So those guys are kind of hoping we go around one more time. I'm sure a lot of the team's drivers' clutches are hoping we go green this time around, but let's see. Looks pretty good right now, but it's safe to say that it's really hard to predict what happens in the middle and the back of the pack. I know they're getting stacked and packed there, and again, this is more out of frustration, trying to keep the speeds up, trying to keep the clutch at least in a decent rev range. It looks solid, though. Dupuis starting to get on the gas here. You see Tutwiler signaling to slow down a little bit, but I think Burgess likes that he does. Green is out. Good start for Dupuis. Good start for Sakina there on row number 2. He'll slot in line to 2nd, but he's side by side with Tutwiler. He holds on the 3rd. A couple of drivers further back spun around. The 98 further back there. He's facing the wrong way. That's Carson Benjamin, the 222 of Ryan Curl as well. And a couple of other drivers further back. Their beginning of their long main event just got a whole lot longer. Shad to the inside of Henry Taylor's through. He's trying to make amends for having to go to row number 3 and getting inverted.
Well, as nasty as it could have been, it doesn't look like it was all too bad to get this race going. Nathan Dupuis leads on the low-key racing Sodi kart. Back to the Mark Steel Motorsports machine in 2nd with Sam Tutwiler. This pack is pretty clean. The back of the field, we cannot say the same. Another 3 karts collected, this time at the grid corner. Side by side for 4th, side by side for 3rd even, as a little bit wide goes Ryan Sukina in the 196 MGM. It allowed Brady Shad to get a moment there to get alongside him. He didn't end up going by. And it's all going to end up with the sum of a car length gap for Nate Dogg down the backstretch. Here's some movement. Back around 6th and 7th, holding harder. Adriano Iannuzzi, Hudson Erlin, all trading spots at the end of the long stretch.
Yeah, and all of a sudden, I'm surprised, even with all that racing, as one driver has to cut the corner there. I want to say that might have been Tegan Schneider there in the 09 machine having to cut the corner, and won't be the last time we see that throughout the day. We saw it a lot yesterday. We saw it happen this morning with the likes of Lorenko, who actually missed the main event for his senior medium event. But back up front, we got some battling here further back. That's one of the Marinello machines there. That is, I believe, the 122, Matthew Launders, getting around the 09 of Tegan Schneider there. And again, we know anytime you make a move, especially through the S's, you tend to lose ground pretty easily, and you can see what it's done to the pack. There goes Brady Shad, back to P2. Nate Dupuis, we know he likes to lead. Heat number 2 in that junior race yesterday, he did a fantastic job kind of manipulating the field, controlling it, making that go-kart maybe wider than it is, maybe 2 times the regulation size, hypothetically, of course, but Nate Dupuis did a great job. I was watching on the fence line with his mechanic and coach there, ZCD, and they were loving what he was seeing. There goes Dupuis back to the inside. I mentioned it. He loves to lead. He wants to lead, but he's going to pinch Brady Shad down to the bottom of the racetrack. It's going to ruin his momentum up the hill here, and you can see the frustration from Brady Shad. It's all fair game, though. Nate Dogg did nothing wrong.
So early, Alex. I mean, we're still only on the 4th lap of this race, and it's not the time to really make some enemies, because they can really send you backwards in a hurry. Right now, he's going to lose at least 3 off of that, and that's if he can get down into line, and I think he'll get lucky, as looked like maybe Harder or maybe Hudson Erlin cut him a break, and off the racetrack. Who was that? That was one of the comp karts. That looked like it might have been, I don't want to say it was Carter Barkis.
Yeah.
It was indeed Carter Barkis there in the number 10, going for a ride through the gravel. First one of the main group to do it. I don't think he'll be the last in this race alone. This is a long one. Again, it's such a change in mentality and strategy by not only combining the field, so now you've got twice as many fast cars, probably twice as big of a battle pack as what you were in yesterday afternoon and evening, but you've also got nearly twice the distance, a race and a half compared to those heat races. There still is a ton of aggression here for how early we are in this main event. This is going to be a long one, 20 minutes more or less.
Well, here's the thing, right? And we interviewed Adam Brickley on the grid during warm-up after actually he missed the senior medium main event in the LCQ, but he made it in the light race. And he talked about how this sort of racing, if you're not familiar with 4-cycle racing, if you're like Nate Dupuis and you come from the 2-cycle side of things, and maybe you don't run the CKNA field as often, you can't really afford to throw the go-kart down the inside as much. You don't have the power to bail you out of the corner, and so the style of racing is different, and that's what Adam Brickley was saying that he had to get used to. And I think Nate Dupuis here, it's a different style of racing. You can't afford, like you said, it's maybe too early to throw haymakers down the inside. We saw him do a half move last lap. It didn't work. There's a full move attempt from Jacob Shively on Henry Taylor. Not going to work, and anytime you make a move, you start losing ground. I got to say, that top 4 is starting to break away from this next pack here. And this pack is consistent of a lot of drivers. You got Shively there. You got, I believe, the 1-1-1 of Ben Beck. You got Tegan Schneider, Anthony Lewis, Derek Wargo, and the 19 in the outside wall. That's through the sweeper there. We'll try to get a name for that driver as well.
Yeah, I mean, you can't, make a lot of moves under braking because you just don't brake all that much. But more importantly than that, the draft matters. And when you talk about 4-stroke to 2-stroke, well, you go, okay, it's no different than when we talk K at X30. K at 100 to X30 or a Rotax 125 is about maybe an 8 horsepower swing. You're going from 22 horsepower to 28 to maybe 30 at the most. When you look at then the drop from just the 100cc power plants that we race nowadays at 22 horsepower to a 9 horsepower Briggs, that's the biggest deficit. You're closer even still in a 125cc 30 horsepower kart to a 45 horsepower beast of a KZ shifter than you are in the Delta from here down to a 9 horsepower kart. So it's the biggest probably change in the way you have to attack the race, much less, of course, the way that you have to attack each lap and how you attack each corner. And so you see these packs split apart here. In any other discipline that we covered on our programming, our broadcast, you're able to make up ground by yourself. That's not the case at a big track like Charlotte Motor Speedway, at least in comparison to the level of horsepower that you have in these 206 karts. You're not going to be able to really climb up the board without some help of some kind. If a pack races in front of you like this, that's one thing. They can slow down quite a bit. If you get someone to push you, like you see Holden Harder there in the 57, lined up behind the 41 of Adriano Iannuzzi, that can also quickly make some ground up. But all by yourself, I mean, we've talked about it as if it's a super speedway race. It really does look like the NASCAR Next Gen Cup cars on the high banks of Charlotte Motor Speedway nowadays, where it's a one big pack, no one can fully separate, and one wrong move, one botched late braking attempt, you can recover from that in maybe a higher horsepower category because you have the ability to stand on your own 2 feet. You need allies, and you cannot really make up for botched moves there because everyone's going to be running so similarly lap time wise.
Well, I think we're going to get a first-hand example here in a moment, Xander, because you mentioned it, right? It's important to have a buddy, have an ally, and you talked about Nate Dupuis maybe not making a whole lot of friends out there, and I think it's showing right now. He's been left. He made a mistake a couple of laps ago. He went for a couple moves that he couldn't make stick, and now he's by himself, all on his lonesome in fourth. And once Carter Barkas and Adriano Iannuzzi can, settle down and work together, it'll be no shock. Yeah, that trio there with Holden Harder as well, they're going to be on Nate Dupuis' bumper momentarily here because Dupuis got no one in front or behind him.
Halfway in, halfway home, coming to 10 laps to go. Caleb?
Thank you, Xander. Alex mentioned this yesterday, but the groove on the racetrack just continues to get just that little bit wider and wider as more and more rubber continues to get laid down here on the racetrack, which is many outside. And a lot of these corners are left-handers, and they're followed up right by a right-hander, so that's giving the guys on the outside line the inside line going to the next corner. So, again, expect to see a lot of drivers start to struggle to make moves on the inside as this race continues to go on.
Thank you, Caleb. Again, 3 karts out in front by a good ways, which is why we've kind of faded back quite a bit. Brady Shad, Sam Tutwiler, Ryan Sukina, 1, 2, 3. You mentioned Nathan Dupuis by himself. He's gone from 1.1 seconds away from the lead down to 1.4, and now he is being hunted by this second trio. Carter Barkas in the number 10, closing in about 1 second away last time, down to just half a second away. Look at how big the difference is when you get a couple karts really to work together like that. They can make up some ground in a hurry, and not only did they make up ground on Nathan Dupuis, but by getting kind of into his slipstream, well, they made up ground on everyone. They closed in on the leaders, it looked like just a hair, and they definitely pulled away from the group behind him, led by Matt Landers now.
Well, this is where it gets intriguing to me, watching it, having been a part of these races before in years past. It's a chess game. I've been mentioning it all morning, right? Some drivers are playing chess. Some drivers might be playing checkers, and they don't even know it yet. So for the leaders, I wonder if they're going to continue to stay as a trio for the next 6 laps and wait until the white flag to make anything happen, or if someone's going to pull out a line and try to make something happen here. I mean, it's 3 different teams out front. You got the BJR, PPK crew, Steel Motorsports, MGM. None of those drivers owe each other anything. There's no teammates. There's really no orders out there, and so they can go out there and kind of do their own thing. It's a team sport until it's not. It can become selfish out there, and on a racetrack like this, it matters having somebody you can work with. Nate Dupuis here has held on to 4th, but still being caught up by the likes of Barkas and Iannuzzi, and wow, that was pretty dicey there. J.J. O'Neill, Henry Taylor going off the racetrack. Jacob Scheibele, the biggest beneficiary of it all, so they're racing really hard further back. That's for 11th through 14th, but once again, look at this group. I got to say, it's starting to now become 3 different trios. I spoke with James Overbeck yesterday on the grid, and he talked about how this racetrack can easily become, a battle of the duos and trios, kind of like old NASCAR style in the early 2010s where you need 1 or 2 guys to work together, and that's all that you can really muster. Anytime you get 4 or 5 in a group, usually one of those guys has a bit of a bobble, and it splits the group up. You have the lead trio. 3 seconds back, you have the next trio, and then you have a duo, and then it starts to fan out and become single file.
Well, and it's all kind of spread between maybe just packs linked together. Even at that point, you could see arguably a duo there back from this trio, another duo from them in Barkas there and Mull, and the next kind of really big grouping is a good ways away. And again, that's because going side by side compared to a single file train like this is a huge difference. Look how quickly the next two are going to close up to this group of 3 as Nathan Dupuis now finally falls off the podium. He'll drop down and into the 6th position behind Holden Harder in the 57. So Nate Dogg off the top 5. Again, top 5 all getting to go to the victory lane here at Charlotte Motor Speedway and stand on the box for the Spring Nationals. These 3 right now safely among those top 5 spots. The question is, who's going to stand as the number 1? Another move there here in 2 corners. We've changed them up twice. New leader, Brady Shad in the 65.
Well, there's our answer. The first driver to budge in the top 3, and I think that was calculated there because he knows we're coming to 2 to go here, and Burgess had to move out of the way because Shad went way to the bottom of the racetrack. Here comes Sam Tutwiler. Here comes Ryan Sakina. Now, if you're Adriano Iannuzzi, if you're Holden Harder, you're Nathan Dupuis, you're trying to look as far up the road as possible and realize they're racing earlier than expected probably, and at this point, we know how much quicker it can be if you're running the normal racing line, working together. Unlike the leaders here, don't be surprised in a lap and a half if things start to get chaotic here further back for 4th, 5th, and 6th. Shad goes low, Tutwiler high. Here comes the crossover move. It's really inviting in these double lefts and double rights to end the racetrack.
Over to the last turn. Big move down the inside by Tutwiler. Not going to happen. He'll have to jam on the brakes there. Brady Shad swung across the bow, stayed in front. Battling behind as well there. You can see Holden Harder and Nathan Dupuis going at it for the final couple spots on the podium. Adriano Iannuzzi falling to 7th. Hudson Erlin down to 9th. But the final lap is underway. The 65 leads. Brady Shad got himself into the lead before the double sticks came out and before the natural moment and instinct goes to defend, but he left the door cracked open. Here's Tutwiler throwing it down the inside, and here with an over-under on them both, Ryan Sakina takes the lead.
Sakina leads. Shad going defensive on Tutwiler. It might ruin his run here heading to the final couple of corners. Sakina's going to have to go low. Shad's going to follow him through. He's going to lower here. We might have a repeat. Look out for Sam Tutwiler. Where is he? We're about to go 3 wide here. He's going to push Shad to the line. Brady Shad somehow from 3rd to 1st wins in 2:06 junior. Further back, Tutwiler, Sakina, Nate Dogg leads that 2nd trio there to finish 4th. Holden Harder launders to 6th. Barkus was 4th entering the final lap. He crosses the line in 7th. Hudson Erlin, Mole, and Adriano Iannuzzi down to 10th. Dropped 6 spots on that final lap.
Carnage on the final lap around midway through as well. The drivers continue to drop here on this last circuit. Looked like Sidney Miller, Evan Frey, and I think Jake Smith all colliding, trying to fight for a top 20 result. They'll end up down in the mid-30s. But Brady Shad, your unofficial main event winner in 2:06 junior, the first of 9 divisions on the CKNA Spring Nationals. Sam Tutwiler 2nd. Ryan Sakina for a moment had it, but in a very similar moment there on that back straightaway, just ended up a little bit too wide going into the corner, and that opportunity was there, of course, for Tutwiler to try and send one. Great racing action, great battles here in 2:06 junior. And we're only 1 in. 8 races remain on the docket here for this windy and overcast, but maybe a little bit of sunshine in the afternoon from Charlotte Motor Speedway.
So you will finally want to get behind the wheel, huh?
Yeah, I've been shooting for 3 years and I've never got to drive.
Well, you're going to need some more gear than just your helmet. Why don't you go to shopakr.com. They got their inventory online and they'll ship it the same day if you order before 5:30 p.m. Eastern.
They got shoes?
Yep.
Gloves?
Yep.
Rib protectors?
Got those too.
Can they make me go fast?
No.
Here at Acceleration Kart Racing, we've got everything you need to get on track. What happens next, well, that's on you. Check us out online at shopakr.com.
As we can see, folks, carts are off the cart stands now and are getting ready to go for Kid Kart's main event. Our second on the day. It's a short run down to Jason Burgess in the bright orange suit to kick things off. Yesterday was a ton of fun to watch these young superstars battle it out here, Alex. Specifically, we had a great battle to end the day between Maddox Neves and Kip Knaus. They'll make up the front row of very healthy Kid Kart grid here for the final. Looks like they've all made it to the end of the weekend. We're going to get the moms and dads off to the side and safely behind the tire wall. Then have a about 50-yard quick run down to Jason for them to kick this race off. So it's a short start. And for their main event as well, a couple laps less than the full-size divisions, but the same number of minutes on the racetrack, and so it'll be a long one as well for our youngest superstars here at the CKNA National Tour. A nod from Jason says we're just about there. We're just going to make sure that we're all clear. We'll start to roll them now. Maddox is already on the gas, and I think he's ready to get this one going. Let's see it. Green flag in the air. Kid Karts are away and racing here from Charlotte.
Want to start there for Maddox Knives. Kip Knaus going to slot in line a second further back. We're fanning out 3-4 wide, and one driver stopped on the racetrack there, the 412. I believe they're getting hit by Maverick Reddick. Unfortunately, that was Aria Denahauer. Started in 7th in this one. Did not get a chance to see how Aria has spun around, but for Maverick, unfortunately, innocent bystander in that one. The rest of the Kid Kart crew, getting in line, starting to slot, single file and just, get their bearings in order here. They had an eventful warm-up as well. These Kid Karts, I touched on it this morning, they know one speed, and it's flat out and hard racing, so they're always super fun to watch. And again, more drivers off the racetrack there. The 93 of Mateo Romeo. He was in 3rd, and that was the driver in 4th, Beckett Hempful there, and more spun around. The 86 of Ben Brumball. He had an eventful warm-up this morning. I think he got collected as well, and now in the heat race, once again facing the wrong direction. So let's hope for the parents, mechanics, and drivers' sake that that's the last driver that's facing the wrong direction. The last thing you want to see is these kids' main events get cut short due to mechanicals or incidents. But up front, the two drivers we have seen all weekend long go after it, Maddox Knives and Kip Knaus. Something I want to mention here. So Maddox Knives was one of the first drivers I saw on the field throughout the weekend, cutting the racetrack distance almost in half, running a really short radius throughout the corner. This is a flat-out racetrack throughout the entirety of it for the Kid Kart crew. Kip Knaus was using all the racetrack yesterday throughout the heat races. Now he's starting to follow Maddox Knives' line.
Yeah, he's trying to shorten that distance as well and close back up. The gap was at half a second, nearly 6/10 last time by. This time a little bit less, 3.5. Underway with 2 laps in the books, 12 to go here as Kid Kart, our second main event of the day, rolls on. Caleb.
Thank you, Xander. Previewing here a little bit of senior heavy. Nick Zobiak, up and down weekend for you, working your way from the back of the field. Summarize your weekend for me before this main event.
Yeah, it just wasn't really going our way. Happy hour, got my valve stem pulled out, not even the first lap, didn't get a lap. And trying to work through the field and qualifying, made it up to 21st. And the first heat race made it up to 15th. Trying to stay the same. We made a bad gear change and couldn't move forward, couldn't come backwards, just trying to stop the bleeding. Starting 16th here, but I got good faith in the car, and my tuner, my dad, and VLRs, so we're going to do good.
Talk about kind of staying ahead of the curve as well. This racetrack has changed so much as this weekend's gone on.
Yeah, we've been nonstop changing everything from axles, front end, hubs, anything, and we're staying on top of it. We're right there. I mean, we proved that in morning warm-up, but yeah, we just got to keep it going.
What about the tire as well? It seems like the very soft sidewall on the Vega Red. You obviously are very experienced on it, but what's it kind of like staying on top of the tire whenever you need as much curve as possible out here?
Yeah, just trying to bump up the air pressure and more or less stay under the rubber and just trying to use that sidewall to my advantage and just keep it going.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Wicked Nick Sobiak in the VLR rolling towards the pointy end of the grid in senior heavy. And as he mentioned, looked extremely good in the warm-up. Oh, Maddox Knives looked off to the side there for maybe a signal or maybe looking to see where Kipper was. Kip Knaus almost able to get alongside him and pull even with your race leader. Not quite yet, though. How about some of the changes, though, behind these two while the battle goes on? Giving a little bit of love. Levi Nason up the order. Kip, oh, man, keeping it up around the outside. Forget the rest of the field here. We've got one heck of a fight for the race lead. Working lap number 5. And Kip Knaus takes over through turn number 2.
Talk about getting your elbows out there for Kip Knaus. What happened there on the final corner was Maddox Knives doing the normal line that Maddox runs, right? Cutting the radius off the corner, pinching off the exit. Sometimes, especially as you start getting lower and lower in the horsepower range, especially with these Kid Car engine packages, he cut the radius off, and Kip Knaus said, you know what, I'm gonna roll the top here, roll the high side, NASCAR style, and he made it work. So now Maddox Knives has to get to work there and see what he can do to get around Kip further back. We have a great scrap here for third. They're side by side. That's the likes of Levi Nason, Weston Kolar, and Liam Vaughn. Look at this group there. Good run so far for Levi Nason. Further back, I want to see where Mateo Romeo is. I know he got into it a little bit with Beckett Hemphill. He's down there in 7th. Beckett down in 11th. So the comeback drive continues for Mateo. But look at this. Exiting the corner, they were still side by side, and the more they battle, there's more drivers getting into the mix here. William Heckman, Mateo Romeo, and the 86 there of Ben Brumball. It looks like his main event might come to a complete close here, unfortunately.
I think he may be okay if they can help him get onto the racetrack. I don't believe there's been any issues with lap traffic being allowed to run all the laps. I need to confirm on that for Kid Kart. Looks like they've gotten it back going. Yeah, all's good for the 86 of Ben Brumbaugh, so he'll continue. And we check back in here with some back and forth crossover action for 3rd, 4th, and 5th. You can see Mateo Romeo's closing in. And to Hemphill's credit, in the 19, he's a couple more seconds away after the spin sent him much further back from the rest of the field. But he's had a heck of a comeback drive on his own. Now, Kip Knaus, Maddox Knives, they pulled a little bit. Oh, no. Maverick Reddick has just nosed into one of the light towers. And how he ended up over there, I'm not quite sure. You can see the tire tracks. Oh, no. Did he just drag? Oh, okay. So a spin off to driver's right in the chicane.
He must have had a little bit of help there, just with the way that go-kart kind of nosed in and facing the complete opposite direction. It's pretty tough to end up over there. So I'm going to guess assistance there, but
yeah,
good for Maverick.
He was close with Tomlinson, right? Last time those two were running near each other, but he was behind him. So I don't know. Let's go down. The Kid Karts are on the racetrack and mixing it up. Caleb's mixing it up with all the senior heavy drivers on the grid.
Thank you there, Xander. Elmer, a little bit of a quieter weekend for you inside of the top 10, but you're looking real close on the outside, starting 7th into the top 5. How are you feeling? How's the package been all weekend long?
The kart's been really good. We missed setup a little bit in qualifying, which set us back, and then some unfortunate luck in the heat races. But we have the speed to be up front. We're there now. We just need to get a good start.
You can talk about the opening stages of the race, right? They seem to be some of the most difficult as well, with a lot of side-by-side action, especially through turns number 1 and 2.
Yeah, so turn 1, 2, and 3 are really the hairiest on the starts. I just like to stay off a little bit, get single file, and then make my way from there.
How satisfying is it seeing so many MGMs up there at the front, a couple of teammates and similar manufacturers to work with?
It's nice that I have people to work with, people that I can push, people that don't push me. I feel pretty good about it.
It's been quite some time since I think you've been on the top step here at Cup Karts North America. How bad do you want to get on that top step of the podium here today?
Very bad. I haven't had a win at Cup Karts in probably about 6 to 7 months, so I think it's deserved now.
There you go. Wish you the best of luck, Elmer.
Thank you.
Turning back up.
Elmer Edmondson is one of many MGMs here in senior heavy. They have one heck of a title to defend. The last time we were broadcasting a CKNA major was the Grands, and they were a flurry, an army up front, if you will, that locked out a good bit of the podium and the entire lead group, all but Sean Meyer in that main event from Newcastle in October. Now, we've traded a couple spots, just sort of. We've got them closer together, and they're catching lap traffic. The leaderboard hasn't shuffled yet, but I think it might here, Alex. This is going to get a little bit hairy as they catch up to Maverick Reddick in the 75.
Yeah, no, it's still stayed the same, but like you mentioned, it's gotten a lot closer because now the more that Nason and Kolar go after it, further back you look at Vaughn, Heckman, Romeo, and now the more that they battle, Pridemore and the likes of Kyrie Dawson as well are going to start joining in the mix. Maverick Reddick is now essentially leading this group. He's a lap down, unfortunately, but it's fair game on lap traffic, so let's see how they're able to navigate this. This is all experience for these young kids to kind of get around the slower traffic here. Reddick doing a good job getting out of the way of Levi Nason there, and Nason is actually going to be the beneficiary of it all because now Reddick has kind of slowed that group up through the S's, and he's going to have a bit of breathing room now. So Kolar is going to go through. Vaughn's not going to have enough of a run to get through to the sweeper, so he's going to have to wait at least another corner. And with all that, Vaughn now has a bumper full of William Heckman there. That's the battle for 5th and 6th, and Reddick still unable to get out of the way. And to Reddick's credit, he's picked up the pace a little bit now, so he doesn't really have to get out of the way besides just more of a courtesy thing.
Yeah, I mean, talking about, running with faster drivers, you learn so much from him. Maverick now getting to follow some of the best and quickest kids around. He's going to have a few more trying to do the same. 5 laps to go. Kip Knaus continues to lead. We go back down to Caleb for a little bit more.
Thank you, Xander. Sean, you're one of the veterans in the top 5 racing against a bunch of young guys. How are you feeling for this main event? What's it like racing against a lot younger drivers?
Yeah, I love it, man. Keeps me young, and Owen's a tough one, Colin's tough, and Ronnie's right there. People I've raced with 15, 20 years, so I'm ready for it.
Yeah, and you are a previous winner at this race. How are you feeling, I guess, trying to go back up to that top step here in Charlotte?
I feel really confident. We got the right changes done this morning, and I'm feeling really good. I think we'll have a good shot today.
Best of luck.
Thank you.
Sean Meyer, always a force to be reckoned with in Briggs Senior competition. He has been at the front of the field for what feels like a long time. As he's mentioned here, he's had plenty of battles with the likes of Jake Havelo over the last 2 decades and a number of superstars that'll be looking to dethrone him. He is one of only a handful of senior drivers that have won here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Kip Knaus in Kit Kart is trying to add his name to the Charlotte Motor Speedway winners list after spending a lot of this weekend chasing Maddox Knives, trying to find a way past him here, Alex. He's looking fantastic here on this final lap around.
Yeah, the only thing in the way of him and the checkered flag is maybe a couple of lapped cars here, so let's see if Kip's able to navigate them. Couple corners to go here. I don't know if they'll get around them or at least catch up to the lap traffic, but Kip Knaus has done a fantastic job all weekend long. Like you mentioned, was kind of in the coattails a little bit of Maddox Knives, but made it work when it matters most.
In the corner that he ripped the high side to get the lead away about halfway through this main event, Kip Knaus will exit that last hairpin, head to the finish line, and score the victory at the CKNA Spring Nationals. Maddox Knives will join him on the podium. Our battle for 3rd raging on. Here they come to the line. Liam Nason on the Merlin. P3 as he signals to the fence line. Kolar ends up in 4th. Vaughn in 5th at the line for Liam. Mateo Romeo closes back up. He gets 6th at the end. Kyrie Dozet in 7th. Beckett Hemphill 8th. Something happened here, it looks like, on this last lap, maybe to Caden Pridemore in the number 80. He dropped down to 11th, just outside the top 10. So Liam Lofton on the CRG moves forward into 10th. William Heckman in the 008 ends up in 9th there behind Beckett Hemphill. And then it's Booker Anderson, Arya Denehauer, Laney Craig, Millie Clements there in the number 78. And your final few finishers, albeit a lap down for Maverick Reddick and Ben Brumbaugh, but they ran all the way to the checkered flag. Charlotte Thomason, last one on the lead lap. She was one that, of course, your eventual race winner, Kip Knaus, was closing in on. But Kipper's got himself a checkered flag. Kit Kart in the books as now we look to engines fired here for senior heavy. I think we're going to go straight into this one, Alex, and we might as well get ready to lock in with your starting lineup here because there's a lot of them. 49, I believe, on the original entry list. I think we're down to maybe 48 or 47. They are all going to line up behind that young man right there. Colin Aitken on the MGM machine will lead your field to green here, folks. in your senior heavy main event. The number 11 South Georgia Karting entry makes an all South Georgia Karting MGM front row. He and Owen Lloyd were the textbook definition of teamwork yesterday in both heat races, and that's of course rewarded them with a 1-2 starting position here in today's feature.
Yeah, it's an MGM front row, an all Coyote second row. You got the likes of Ronnie Cleese and Sean Meyer there rolling off third and fourth. And how about it for Bryce Frank? He's had a really solid weekend at this point in senior heavy, making his way through the field in senior medium. It's been solid for him. They've been working at it all weekend long, but in heavy, he's been fast. He's rolling off on the inside of row number 3 alongside the likes of, I believe, Hepville there on the gold cart.
Here we go. They're going to head through the cut through and then begin to make their way down the front stretch. So one more time around for your senior heavy drivers to the finish line. Hopefully it's the only time that they have to come at this slow of a speed. Colin Aitken on the right there in the 11. The 119, Owen Lloyd on his outside against Sean Meyer, who we spoke to moments ago. Just alongside on row number 2, Ronnie Cleese. Here we are. And, oh no, I don't think we're going green because one driver's lost a neck collar. And they are trying to, I think, give it back to him. Who do we have back there? Talk about top-notch service. I mean, you can't ask for anything better than that.
Cody Savaboda there on the MGM package. Nice of CKNA actually let that happen. Sometimes I know if it happens during a race, well, it's an automatic DQ because as per the rules at Cup Karts North America, you must run a neck brace no matter if you're the senior class or not. And so, again, like you said, a top-notch service there. Might have to give him a little bit of a tip. It's like a butler almost, is the CKNA.
You better give him at least 20% right there. That's a DQ otherwise.
Saved him.
Yeah, that was huge. Well, they've got the full 18-lap distance here. So here we go for another try. CKNA Spring Nationals. Briggs Senior Heavy. Everyone's got their neck collars on now. Are we on the gas at the right point for the approval to get the green? Yes, we are. Green flag in the air, and we're underway as the GK MGMs lead us through turns 1 and 2. And Owen Lloyd.
Wow.
Perfect teamwork. You saw Colin Aitken open up extra there for turn 2. That was tactical coming out into 3, to let Owen get into the lead and tuck in right behind him.
I can't believe Owen Lloyd got to the lead there. He almost lost the spot to Sean Meyer. Ripped the high side, got around Colin Aitken, and Meyer lost the spot to Ronnie Cleese there, his teammate. Further back, we're fanning out 3 and 4 wide here. One driver spun around there, lucky to not get collected. That's the 49 machine facing the wrong direction, unfortunately for him. That is Joshua Smoker there, down there in 35th position, and unfortunately now is going to have a long ways to go to make up some ground in this one. But again, more battling. We're 4 wide further back. The 331 there of William Lessig, Junior Downs, Noah Rivers, Jed Perkins, Ben Lida, all in that group going after it. And as exciting and crazy and chaotic as it is here, Xander, the more you battle, you just start losing ground to the drivers in front of you.
Yeah, no, I mean, you lose a ton, right? I mean, there is so much to be lost in these opening couple of laps here. A lot more than what you can gain usually is off the racetrack. That would look to be Brady Atwood. I think Brady Atwood there in the number 6, the white and orange MGM, had to go into the dirt. Here's Jake Havelow making up some ground. He'll send Ronnie Cleese backwards, and the top 2 continue to break away. Sean Meyer needs some help here to close in and keep them within reach. Elmer Edmondson moving into 5th behind Havelow. All 3 of them, if they make any mistakes now, it is going to be a long 18 laps watching the 119 and the 11 drive away.
Yeah, unfortunately for Sean Meyer, as Jed Perkins way off the racetrack there, misses a couple of corners to kind of just evade himself from the chaos. The number 1 machine as well off the racetrack there, unfortunately for him. And then a couple others I saw spun around. So naturally, that chaos that I was mentioning was going to erupt, and it has, unfortunately for Jed Perkins and a couple other ones. That's going to put him way further back in the order. Eli Fox gotten around Ronnie Cleese there, and I was going to touch on it a little bit. Ronnie Kleiss, the teammate to Sean Meyer, started on the second row of the grid. Unfortunately for Meyer now, that's his Coyote teammate and buddy kind of away from the rest of the crew, so he's got a gold cart and MGM behind him.
Well, the good news here is at least while Kleiss is faded back, Jake Havelo has pushed him forward. Now, looked to me like there might be something amiss for the 22 of Eli Fox. I looked like that side pod was starting to drag. So as your leaders head down the backstretch here, we check back in. Look at that right side pod on the number 22 when he comes back by us. Now into second in line there behind AJ Roderick. And there it is. Great catch by our camera crew. At the moment, it doesn't seem to be affecting him, but it very well could if it does end up any worse than what it is right now. So here we are, coming to the line to put 4 laps in the books. That 3-car grouping has now joined the 2 up front to make it 5 deep, and we're not far from making maybe more drivers here join this pack, because only about a second and a half backwards and you will find 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, and I think probably back to around 13th.
Strategically here, Sean Meyer, the second he caught up to Colin Aiken, he's going to go through. He knows his best chance at a win is splitting up the MGM duo. There goes Hevelo, there goes Mo Edmondson. So Aiken, 2nd to 5th. He looked pretty content with that. I mean, I got a feeling this is a tire pressure situation for Owen Lloyd and for Colin Aiken, because with the speed that they showed in Heat 1 and Heat 2 yesterday, able to pull away from the rest of the field, right now it looks like Sean Meyer and Hevelo have kind of the pace advantage early doors in this one. You don't always want to be the fastest guy, though, on lap 6, especially with 12 to go. Further back, we fan out.
Out of that short chute, turns 2, 3, 4. Can they close back up to the 22 of Eli Fox and shove him back towards the lead? They're at least going to get a bit of a gift here. New leader for the first time this weekend. Sean Meyer takes command, and the number 30 Coyote, Jake Havelo, pushing him from a full second back of the top 2, now all the way up to become the new top 2, with Owen Lloyd finding a gap there just ahead of Elmer Edmondson for 3rd. And it's MGM's 3, 4, 5 beginning to wind back up and plot their next move as we put 6 laps in the books now, 12 laps remaining. And I think we got problems for one driver in particular. AJ Roderick just dropped out of the top 10. What happened to the number 56 Coyote last time by? Looks like he just got absolutely freight trained. There he is, just outside your top 10. Back to 6th or 7th in that group behind Bryce Frank.
Yeah, Bryce Frank, he's been pretty stagnant in that, around that 7th to 8th position, like you mentioned with Roderick there. Just kind of a prime example of how easy it is to get freight trained around this racetrack. Anytime you're on the wrong side of the road, it's pretty easy to lose a lot of spots here. We're racing up front. I think Owen Lloyd and Colin Aiken have refound some pace, and like I mentioned, probably a tire pressure situation where they're both on similar, if not the exact same setups. I know, talking to Colin Aiken, they're able to bounce setups off each other. They're both pretty tall kids, and they can probably run similar enough setups. Their driving style is the same. Mo being kind enough there to give room to his teammate there, Colin Aiken. He knows there's no need to race too hard too early, because that second group is starting to find some speed here. Eli Fox, fortunately, his side pod, as far as I'm concerned, has stayed on in this one, and now he's got help from Chris Carroll and Ronnie Kleiss. Bryce Frank lost ground last time by. There goes Chris Carroll on the Coyote. His buddy and teammate Ronnie Kleiss is going to try to go through as well. I think he's got the inside line. He's going to slot back in line. So this trio here, if they can start to work together, maybe Chris Carroll is a better leader than pusher, they're going to start to close the gap now to that top 5.
Yeah, what was kind of a second group is now really 2 groups. A group of 3 here, and then about another 5 led by Frank with a hefty gap back. We got a penalty. Tram line violation. The number 22. Eli Fox. So, there was a lot written on that sign that Jason Burgess displayed. So that was, that was not actually the issue for Eli. He had something else that was just displayed there. Was it displayed for Bryce? He just had to wave a couple carts by.
I wonder if maybe it was either displayed for Bryce or some confusion, and Bryce just let some guys by without having to really need to do so. So, again, maybe we can get some clarification there. But nonetheless, if it is for Bryce Frank, highly unfortunate as, the 181 of Brad Davis. Wow, I mean, he was full Daytona banking style there up and over the curbing.
Talk about airtime. Brad Davis up in the air in the S's. Halfway in, halfway home now. There's the 17 of Bryce Frank in the middle of the top 10-ish right now. Backwards after that last lap of letting a couple karts go. We check into this group of 5, though. There's your leaders. Here is your next group of 3, then 2, then Bryce there in 11th. How about wicked fast Nick Sobiek in the number 23 marching up the board as well. He's made up quite a bit of time here so far in this main, with still a little more to go to get to the top 10, but it's within reach now.
At this point in the race, we got 8 laps to go here, and at some point, Havelo is going to have to pick up the pace here because Sean Meyer's quicker than him, Owen Lloyd's quicker than him, and you know who's quicker than all these guys? Chris Carroll, Eli Fox, Ronnie Kleiss, and Sean Chiarello there down in 9th place. AJ Roderick with a personal best, the quickest driver on the racetrack last time by. I wonder at some point who's going to make the first move in the top 5 because Chris Carroll is bringing that second group closer to the front. And as we know around this racetrack, the moment you start making passes, you can pretty much write off working together. There we go. Lloyd through. Aiken's going to try to push his way through. Meyer's not going to let it happen here. He's going to slot in line to 3rd, but it's kicked off here. Lloyd goes low. Aiken lower than him. He's going to push Meyer almost off the racetrack. Mo's going to make it 3 wide. Mo says, thank you very much. I'll make it a 2 for 1. Look at this. That gap has pretty much been cut in half, down to 1.9 to Chris Carroll.
If there was ever a driver right now that I think epitomized what the 2000s era of 206 and 4-stroke drivers really, because in that era you would have had the flatheads, then to the clones and the animals, it's Jake Havelo. He's still got the all-black helmet, the baggy suit, and in our first broadcast of the CKNA Grand Nats, he was running up front on a near 20-year-old Aero chassis. Now aboard the Gold Kart, leading the way with a little bit of separation. Thankfully, for our sake at least here, Owen Lloyd's been able to put a masterful lap together to close back up to him, so we've still got more than enough fighting left to go. But Jake Havelo could try to steal one away from the flurry of MGMs and Coyotes that he is surrounded by. And don't fret either. Eli Fox on the way on his MGM for Bradford Racing, leading that second group with Chris Carroll in tow. They're now less than about a 1.25 seconds from the back bumper of Sean Meyer, who has had a bit of a miscue and lost touch with all of that back and forth action there. He's 4 car lengths back, needs a really good final sector to close up.
I have a feeling we could see a move here from Owen Lloyd soon because he looked over his shoulder. Colin Aiken's on his bumper, and we know those two like to work together as much as possible. Mo Edmondson down there in 4th, so an MGM 2-3-4 at the moment. I'd be shocked if Owen Lloyd elects to push. I mean, Owen Lloyd is known for being one of the best pushers, one of the smartest drivers. There's a reason why no matter what class he's in, light, medium, or heavy, he's one of the front runners because he's such a calculated driver. But at some point when you have your teammate, your friend off the racetrack, it is a nice, comforting feeling to know that you have somebody to help you work together. But nonetheless, 4.5 to go here. They're starting to pull away a bit from Sean Meyer, I gotta say. It's Havelo, Lloyd, Aiken, Mo, and then a slight gap to Sean Meyer is by himself. Here's what I thought would happen last lap. Lloyd through, Aiken through, Mo's gonna try to muscle his way through, and he's gonna go through. So Havelo, 1st to 4th, smart driving from him, but now this is scary stuff for the rest of the field with an MGM top 3.
Owen Lloyd back to Colin Aitken there, the 2 red and black MGMs. Then the blue and black classic, or blue, black, and green colored 107 of Mo Edmondson. There is the signal from Jason Burgess. Is that 5 or 4 to go? He gave the 5 signal. We're showing 14 complete, but I believe it's still an 18-lapper, so he may have just given that 1 lap delayed. 4 laps remaining from our count so far. Owen Lloyd at the point of it. And as we watch our main pack come down the backstretch, I feel like we've been staring at 6th place, be about 2 seconds away for the last good bit. Oh no, we have problems for Eli Fox. The MGM number 22 off in the infield here. This is coming out of that last turn, and it doesn't look like there was much contact, but I would imagine probably a chain coming off over anything else there. You can see him now as he has to watch the final few moments of this main event from the infield.
Yeah, it would be surprising if he grabbed a curb because these things can be pretty tall. We saw Brad Davis gets some pretty big airtime early on in this race, so wouldn't be surprised if that's what happened there and just lost the chain. But super unfortunate for Eli because he was in that second group with Carroll, Kleiss, and Chiarello, and he could have been the one to take advantage if this top 5 begins to battle here. 2.5, maybe 3 laps to go if the signal of 4 to go is correct. So with this second group of Carroll, Kleiss, and Chiarello, they're going to have to start working together here, and they have been all race long. Super experienced drivers, the 3 of them. But like I mentioned, with Lloyd, Aiken, and Mo being the top 3, being 3 MGMs, I would be shocked if they start battling before the white flag. I have been proven wrong in the past, but if the first 2 heat races are anything to base our knowledge off of, these 3 up front, they like to work together. And yeah, 2 to go in the air.
All the way back now to Bryce Frank. There is 4 seconds. A little bit further from him, you'll find 2 more drivers trying to join the fray. Jason Rothman on the Coyote. Nick Sobiek there on the VLR. Out of that back chicane for the second group, led now by Chris Carroll, Ronnie Kleiss, Sam Girello. Trio of Coyotes trying to hunt down this trio of MGMs up front. Jake Havelo, the odd man out of the main pack, as Sean Myers now faded to about half a second, maybe 6/10 away for the entirety of heat number 2. For the majority of heat number 1 as well, Colin Aitken and Owen Lloyd played the teamwork duo out to perfection. But now, the final lap of the weekend underway in senior heavy. At some point, you feel like Colin Aitken's going to want to take the checkered flag for himself. Does that mean he waits to the last turn, maybe the last sector, maybe the last time down the backstretch? Let's find out.
It all depends on what Owen Lloyd decides to do on the back straightaway. Does he go low, or does he run the normal line? He's going to run the normal line here. Aitken can follow him through because he knows Mo Edmondson is the guy in third, and he's starting to fall back to the clutches of Havelo here. Lloyd goes high. Now he goes defensive. Watch for the crossover here from Aitken, but Lloyd does a masterful job of parking on the apex. One more chance for Colin Aitken.
The triple podium driver, the senior heavy national champ from last year, defends low, but it goes a bit wide. Aitken's got a nose out front, to the dog leg, to the line. Colin Aitken completes the crossover and wins it in senior heavy. Owen Lloyd second, Mo Edmondson third, Jake Havelo fourth. Owen Lloyd leads the most laps, leads almost every lap when he and Colin Aitken were in the top 2 spots. But on the final lap, the final time to the timing loop, Colin Aitken puts one over on his new teammate. It was a last-second decision to even get onto that MGM chassis here this weekend. And, well, it's paid off. Another new driver. One of, I believe, only maybe 5 now across the 3 divisions here at the CKNA Spring Nationals history books that can say they are a winner inside the high banks of Charlotte Motor Speedway. Colin Aitken, Owen Lloyd, Elmer Edmondson, Jake Havelo, Sean Meyer completes your podium top 5 spots. Ronnie Kleiss gets by Chris Carroll on that final lap. Sean Girello ends up behind the pair of them. Bryce Frank 9th. AJ Roderick, we mentioned him getting shuffled back and around the middle part of that race. Solid rebound for the Roderick Racing Development team owner to 10th. Rothman, Sobiek, Brad Davis, Clay Settles, Ben Lyda, your top 15. And now we start to trail back. Hunter Bolton, we saw him race his way into the medium feature later on today. He ends up 16th here in heavy ahead of Mason Rick, Justin Wishard, Cody Sabota, Owen Mal. And there wasn't, I think, many that got kind of knocked out early and then drove back forward. Most of the drivers, if they were out, they were all the way out from that main pack. Like Eli Fox there, 39th, and on down. So 48 in total took the green. And after it, Colin Aitken stands tall. Let's go to the grid as we get set now for our legends. 50 and over. These are drivers who usually find themselves racing in the Masters class as well. But at the CKNA Nationals and the CKNA Divisionals, they get a division of their own. Your Legends drivers out onto the circuit for the outlap, and they will quickly make that half lap all said and done. Yesterday, well, it was all about a couple, and then there were more. That heat race under the lights seemed to draw out a bit more chaos in the old guys class than I think we had in some of the other divisions. Ron Kleiss, Todd Bolton, Elienko, Phil Pignataro, top of the board in round number 1. Round 2, Pignataro over Ron Kleiss, Barron, and then after that, Don Newman, J.D. Gunn joining the top 5 due to the fact that Elienko and Todd Bolton collided. So now they find themselves a little bit further on the rows. Ron Klei's there in the number 7, orange and black on the right. Pignataro in the white and yellow, 105 on the left. Green flag for Legends.
Good start there for Klei's there. Bolton on the inside as well is going to try to sneak in on Pignataro, and whoa! 5, 6, 7 drivers all spun round, one of them being the 25 there of Chris Hamilton, and that clutch is not too happy with how he was treating it on that outlap there, and it's burning up pretty bad, Xander.
Oof. Yeah, that happy cart is not happy. The debut of the new brand here on the national tour is already going to have one down. Let's check in with your leader, Ron Klei's. Good start for him. Great start for Todd Bolton in the 22, already up to 3rd on the blue and yellow Coyote. And then back behind, we've got 4th and 5th still close. They'll get closer now. Piggy to the lead. 1 down, 17 to go, and the 105 Florida Man leads the way down to turn 1.
Yeah, I know. Speaking with Piggy this morning and yesterday as well, he said, listen, it keeps him young. I told him, why aren't you running heavy and medium? He used to run it back when I was racing at the Cup Karts North America. He said, listen, I'm 56 now. I need to race with some guys closer to my age. And so he's running Legends. He didn't want to run Masters, didn't want to run double duty. He's wrenching on his own stuff, and he's trying to stay young, trying to stay in it and not, put too much on his body, unlike guys further back like Barron, like Bolton, like Yanko running double duty, like James Perkins up to P6, making that CRG roll.
Yeah, what a cool story it is that James Perkins and Jed were sharing a go-kart here this weekend between the Masters Legends combos and the heavy and medium combos out of the LSR Motorsports camp aboard a CRG. There's the 51 machine, one of many who has been a mainstay here at these CKNA events. He's got himself safely in the top 10 there in 6th. And this is probably the biggest pack for the Legends class so far the weekend. Sun shining on them. It is a gorgeous morning turning to early afternoon, and hopefully we are in for a treat with 18 laps on the boards for Phil Pignataro and company. Look how far back this train goes. You can mark it probably all the way down to, I'd call it maybe to Newman. You could cut it there, but Doug Cook is still close too.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Doug Cook on the 16 machine. Yeah, Doug Cook is the cutoff. Not too far back is Downs and DeBover there on the MGM and the CRG machine respectively. So as this group begins to continue to battle, don't be surprised if this group becomes 10, 11, 12 or more drivers. Now these Legends guys, usually they try to keep the gloves on at least for a couple of laps before things really kick off, but they have surprised us in the past. These Legends guys are not afraid to put their body on the line, just like the senior crew and the junior guys that we'll see later on today, especially the senior guys. But for Piggy, he looks good early doors here. Klei's made a little mistake through the S's there. It's going to give Bolton a chance. Perkins got a shot here on Eli Yanko. He's going to go through, and I know James and Jed both have been struggling with keeping their go-kart free. They've been stuck to the racetrack for a majority of the day, but maybe these cooler temperatures this morning, even though I think it was colder yesterday, it looks like it's working for the CRG crew. And 4 laps into this race, James Perkins is rolling right now. He's got a run now on Todd Barron on the Steel Motorsports Barrel Art machine. Let's see if we see a move to the inside. We don't, but further back, Yanko's trying to stop the bleeding there on JD Gunn. He's going to go through in 6th.
The pack now separated by about 4 tenths, maybe 5 back from Perkins. Here we are with Eli Yanko and JD Gunn in that second group of 5. Phil Pignataro got a little bit sideways there in front, and they're racing as well behind James Insko and company. It looked like, oh man, they are 3 wide for the lead, and what a crossover from Piggy. Pignataro gets it, and oh man, Todd Barron up and around, and it collects JD Gunn. Chaos.
JD Gunn, and I believe one more. I think it was Klei's who was also involved from P2. Todd Barron got up and over the back of Klei's. Unfortunately for JD Gunn, he's facing the wrong way and up and into the barriers. And now this is unleashed. James Perkins to 2nd, Yanko to 3rd. Todd Bolton, luckily enough, the only driver of that 3-wide situation besides Piggy to still be facing the right direction. So for the 22 machine, he's in 4th, fortunate enough for him. And now look at this, James Isco on the Coyote machine. Further back, you have the likes of Doug Cook and Don Newman. We were talking about them in 9th, 10th, and 11th. They're in 6th and 7th now, and this train has still remained at a pretty large group.
Through the S's, Elienko just a moment ago was trying to lead a pack back up to the leaders, but it can all change in an instant. Now, the Canadian is third across the loop ahead of Bolton. These two collided. They're back to neutral where they started last night's second round. Now, do they want to go even further up? It looks like Ellie's on the move at least. Already making one move a lap ago to get by the 22. Working on the back of James Perkins there in the 51. Pignataro still leads the way. Phil Pignataro and James Perkins, they work together really well. These two have had a lot of race weekends hanging out together. Let's see if they can stay together and buy some time, maybe put some real estate between themselves and the rest of the field. 6.5 laps in, coming to put 7 down. Caleb?
Thank you, Xander. Here with our senior heavy race winner, Colin Aiken. You were behind Owen for the entirety of the weekend until the last 2 corners. Walk me through that last lap pass.
Yeah, I mean, it was overall, that race was just, it was a good race. I started out on pole, and I made sure that Owen got in front of me because I like when he leads, I'm a better pusher. So that worked out, and I was like, okay, let's go ahead down, let's keep going. Sean Meyer and Jacob Hempel behind us, they had pace at the beginning of the race, so they passed us both, they got in front of us. I shuffled back to, I think, 5th, and then from there, I cut my head down, didn't get nervous, and then from there, I made my way back up to Owen, and then got up to 2nd. Owen was in 1st, and then we pushed away enough gap to where I could battle him in the last 2 corners, so that worked out. And then last lap, last corner, I got the over-under done, and I won the race, so I'm happy.
Yeah, and talk about the weekend as a whole as well. I mean, you said the race was stressful, but the weekend, it could have been stressful as well with the chassis change. Talk about that, everything went into getting yourself up at the front here in heavy.
Yeah, I mean, it took a lot. I mean, we've been stressed out all weekend. I mean, we're flipping weights back and forth and between light and medium every single session to get it working. So it's just, I just can't thank the team enough. I mean, they've done such a great job the entire weekend. I can't thank them enough. It's been great.
And I know your parents here this weekend. Who else would you like to thank for this race victory?
Yeah, I'd like to thank my mechanic and Bo Scurry and Jacob Duvall. I'd like to thank Christine and Arnold Lloyd from South Jordan Karting for all they do, my teammate Owen Lloyd, and Caps Racing Engines, and my mom and dad.
There you guys have from Colin Aiken. We're going to see him later on in the day as well. He's going to take on a couple more of the senior classes. Colin Aiken, race winner in senior heavy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Colin Aiken and the MGM crew have the first score of the 3 senior classes. As mentioned by Caleb, they still have 2 more divisions he's got a shot at. Senior medium, senior light will be the first of the pair coming up at the 6th seed. We're on race number 4 of 9. Your leader now, James Perkins. I mentioned before we went down to Caleb that it seemed like he and Phil Pignataro worked really good together. Well, he didn't wait all that long before going by and taking over the point of the race for himself, Alex.
Yeah, Perkins was able to make it stick, and Piggy just on the outside. It's pretty normal around this racetrack. Just once you get held on the outside, usually 2, 3, 4 go-karts go by. But again, these are the oldest crew that we have on the field, the Legends guys, and they're all experienced enough to know just at some point, let the guy come back in line. You don't want to create any more chaos than that has already ensued during this Legends race. But this train, even though we lost a couple early on in this one, 11 laps in now to an 18-lap main event, it's still a 7-car train. Further back, we have some fighting. Don Newman, James Insko going side by side. Insko able to hold on a 5th. The problem with that is now they've lost track to the top 4.
Yeah, they've got a little bit of a gap now. 10 down, 8 to go, coming to 7, so the less time to make up for miscues and mistakes. Phil Pignataro even had a little bobble, tapped his helmet, was looking for help. There was nobody home behind the 105. He's got a half second back now to James Insko. And for James Perkins on that CRG, not a wheel put wrong for him this lap either. Last time by, very consistent, 48.56 for him and a 55 for Todd Bolton. Out of that last turn, great exit for the 105. He'll close up to make it 4 carts underneath a blanket, and they just picked up the pace. 48.41 now for the new time of the race leader.
I love what James Perkins is doing through the front straightaway into turn number 1. He's exiting the final sweeper and just being really late to setting up for turn 1, fading the go-kart, making it seem wider as like an illusion to Todd Bolton more than it actually is. We may see him do it again here, entering the final couple of corners through the sweeper. I wonder what he's going to do here. Again, he's going to hug the right side. No need to really defend too early, but I want to see what he does again entering turn number 1, because it's just a subtle defense from James Perkins. Not too much, but again, you see him just super late on his fade, setting up for the corners. And again, it just creates that illusion for the guys behind you to know, okay, you know, my go-kart looks a little bit wider than it actually is.
Yeah, it's almost a bit lazy, right?
Yeah.
Like just a lazy river of slowly moving from left to right. See, James did that in one of the very first races I race directed that he was in, and it was borderline. On the last lap, I think he went just a little bit more, and obviously for those that are just watching and maybe aren't as familiar, the standard blocking and defending rules are what you're allowed to do as the leader trying to hold your spot versus what you cannot do is you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you want to make sure that you don't get dive bombed, someone can't get a nose to the inside of you going into a corner, well, you got to stay down there. You can't open back up for the turn. But by doing it every lap, well, then you kind of make the argument that that's your natural line. And so James going all the way out there and then slowly working his way back to the outside of turn 1. How much of a deviation is he doing from what he normally does for it to be considered a defensive move versus just what he's been, you know, naturally doing to go fast every race? And he's been going fast even last lap, a 48.385. Granted, it's not enough to shake the group. You saw Pignataro take over third. We now see James Insko closing up there back in the 5th spot. So we're 7 deep back to Doug Cook. And no matter what Perkins does out front, I don't think we're going to really lose that group of 7 without moments like that maybe.
Well, James Insko, no surprise to see him make the move there on Elienko because he was the fastest driver on the racetrack of at least the top 7. Personal best, a 48.173, 3/10 clear of the top 3. Piggy getting really aggressive there on Todd Bolton. Unfortunately, it puts him on the wrong side of the racetrack, and he has to actually bail out of it. But you can tell at this point the gloves have now come off. 4 to go. What a move. You don't see a pass there very often, Xander. Pignataro through to P2.
And it absolutely murdered the momentum for Todd Bolton. He's shaking his head down the backstretch. He knows he's got nowhere to go. Now here comes Elienko to the inside. Bolton's going to go all the way back to 4th, maybe 5th, maybe more, as looking to try and go was Doug Cook. He could not. So the Coyotes now to 5th and 6th on the circuit, and a big-time lead for James Perkins coming to now 3 laps to go. Could they be a father-son duo? I don't believe any father-son duo has won yet in CKNA Grand Nationals, Spring Nationals, or Summer Nationals history on the same weekend. James Perkins setting a high bar for Jed to try and follow up with later today as he leads now with 2.5 laps remaining.
I'll tell you what, if you're Jed watching this race right now, you must feel pretty good about your go-kart because any struggles that they were having, at least on the CRG machine for James, seems to be out the window right now, and they have that thing rolling. So if I'm Jed, I'm copying this setup to a T. They're both about the same height. They both weigh probably roughly the same. They change a couple of weights, but I think they have the go-kart dialed in now. So let's see, though. Piggy made an aggressive move 2 laps ago. What that tells me is whenever I see a driver make a lunge that aggressive, especially in a 4-cycle package, you feel like you're fast, and he's proven it here. 2 to go, the 105 of Pignataro all over the rear bumper of James Perkins now.
Yeah, we are back lined up nose to tail again. We talked about it, almost beating it into the dirt here at Charlotte, that this racetrack, it is such a pack race. It is so hard to break away, and Perkins had probably the biggest lead to this moment of the Legends final, and well, he was just giving a thumbs up to Piggy, and Piggy at the same point was pulling out to take over the lead, and he's brought the cavalry who also want to try and go by the CRG driver, but Insko couldn't go, and picking up the pieces, Todd Bolton not down and out just yet. He's back to 4th.
I wonder if that was by design from James Perkins. I don't know if he wanted to lead the start of this final lap here. White flag in the air from Jason Burgess. Do we see defensive driving from Piggy? We don't. He's going to open up for turn number 1. Perkins right now, to me, is in the prime position. James Insko, though, the last couple laps has been the fastest driver on the racetrack. At this point, speed doesn't matter. The senior heavy field proved that Owen Lloyd was probably the fastest driver, led every lap but the last corner. All you need to do is lead the most important lap, and that's the final one here. Piggy goes low, Perkins goes high. It's down to the final 4 corners.
Check it out. Perkins stays on the high side. He'll almost get by. Still there. Wheel to wheel with Pignataro for the race win. Perkins over the curbing. He'll get the nose out front. Now he's got the preferred lane into the last turn. Down the inside and through. James Perkins leading us. Final time to the dog leg. Perkins wins in Legends.
What a run for James Perkins out of nowhere. He was a driver that was stuck between 7th and 10th all weekend long, especially in the Masters side of things. But here in the Legends class, overnight, worked hard, stayed late hours, and they've been really wrenching at that thing, and they got it dialed in. You see the respect there from Piggy, from Yanko, giving the congratulations to James Perkins. A lot of these guys are friends off the racetrack. What a run there for James. Piggy P2, Todd Bolden wheels that 22 machine to third. Elianko, James Insco rounds out your top 5. And for Doug Cook, Don Newman, those two drivers there, a really good run up to 6th and 7th. And for Ron Kleiss, what a fantastic run back. I know he was involved in the incident there with Todd Barron earlier on in the race. He gets back to 8th, and Barron, considering he was spun around there halfway through the race, back to 9th, and then Mike Todd, your top 10.
Let's quickly show you the rest of the results here from another healthy turnout. Heartbreaker for J.D. Gunn and a couple more that were unable to finish. Legends are wrapped up. Group 5 on deck. More racing to go here from Charlotte. We'll be right back.
Brandon, why are there all these
right,
charges
stop.
for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this branding business, okay? Branding this, branding that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go for another one. We've got the outlap underway. One quick run around the full circuit and then back through the cut-through for Slate Harrell and Co. as your sportsman drivers, cadet drivers, all ready for their main events here for the afternoon. We've got Slate Harrell on the pole. Alongside him will be Will Feitinger in the 110 MPG Motorsports Kart Republic. Then it'll be Dalton Sears on the inside of row number 2 alongside Ruben Greer. Row number 3, Braden Clossy and Jackson Reinholtz.
Further back, Austin Taylor, Miles Brownfield, Yusuf Addy, Anderson Hemphill, your top 10. And behind here, we got the 463 slowed down and stopped.
Jackson Brewster in the Nitro Kart. Something amiss there, and it's going to stay a miss. Oh, heartbreak for Jackson. He had to roll off a little bit further in the field. Here's your top 20. We'll quickly show you the rest of your pack as they come on by. And out of that last turn, down the front stretch, here we go, looking for green. Gonna not get it. No green that time by. Couldn't quite tell. Jason Burgess off to the side. Not the normal yellow. I think he was pointing around to let him know they're waving off as they were wanting to give the field moment to readjust now, sadly down one driver.
Yeah, anytime you have to go around again, though, as the front two drivers being the front row of Slate Harrell and Will Feitinger, it's nervous times because, again, we've seen it multiple occasions this weekend. We saw it on the first main event of the day with the junior crew. Anytime that you have to go around twice and Jason Burgess doesn't give you the green flag, they can elect to put you to the third row. So now if you're Slate Harrell, if you're Will Feitinger, you got to make sure that you can keep the rest of the cadet field in tow and at a decent speed. And now I think reality really starting to set in there for Jackson Brewster. He will not make the start of this main event. They were trying to get him going, to the credit of the CKNA officials and for Brewster there, but unfortunately his day is cut short by 18 laps. Into the tram lines they go. Slate Harrell, Will Feitinger, they look to be on the gas pretty early, and yeah, Burgess did not like it at all. That yellow was out pretty quickly there. They were on the gas the moment they got to the tram lines there, Xanders. So they're going around again. Now I wonder what they're going to count this as. The second go-around or the first go-around, because they lost Brewster, so maybe they're going to give him the benefit of the doubt.
I think we're not even going to get him around. Oh, I mean, we're almost stopped right here. Oof. Sorry, anyway, Alex, no, you were right. Does this count as strike 2? And for the front row, well, we got 2 of them completely hitched. The 08 and the 16 stuck.
Bo Laser on the 08 there, and then the 16 machine of Koa does it. Now, it's interesting that those two are together because Koa is starting in the 27th position, and Bo Laser, I believe, is starting in the 39th position. So for those two to fight each other on the racetrack to start this one is interesting, but it looks like they're going to let Slate Harrell and Will Feitinger, for the moment, lead this field to the green. So I think that first go-around was kind of a mulligan, right? Letting them get back in order. They lost Brewster, so they're going to give them that second chance. So now I believe this is strike number 2. You better hit something, otherwise it will be strike 3.
Sun is out here from Charlotte. Can we get a picture-perfect start on this try for the cadets? This class, a big leap up, but it's the first step up in the structure from Kit Kart, and you've got a lot to learn. Let's see if they can apply it well in the start this time. Yes, we're going to get the majority of the field through the first couple turns. Now we got to bring them through that whole first lap as your leaders will hit the short chute, and oh, we got one around. One of the Nitros going for a ride.
Yeah, I saw that happening from a mile away. I actually want to say that might have been, I think, Austin Taylor getting into it, I believe, with Jackson Reynolds there. That was the battle for 6th and 7th, and it's just one of those things where you try to go too wide through the S's. The only problem is if the driver on the outside doesn't cooperate, you end up pinching the driver on the inside. Unfortunately for Jackson, he was actually the guy that lost out in that whole situation, facing the wrong direction early on in this one. Back up front, Harrell leads over Dalton Sears, Feitinger, Ruben Greer, Braden Colossi. They have pulled away quite a bit on this opening lap here, and if this top 5 can notice that, and the mechanics and the parents on the fence line can tell their drivers no need to fight, this could be a 5-car breakaway early on.
It might even be a single driver breakaway, though, if they keep fighting for second, because already Slade Harrell's gotten a little gap, and he has been arguably the class of the field to this point in the weekend. Look how far back, though, like you said, Alex, while they pass again for second. This time Feitinger going back through on Sears in just a lap. One lap, but enough fighting and shuffling has now given a more than 1.5, nearly 2-second deficit to overcome for 6th onwards. Yusuf Adi right now leads this pack on that Steel Motorsports, Birol Art, then Austin Taylor. Then it looks like Liam 4 in the number 4 and the Sodi of, is that Brownfield aboard the Sodi in the number 26? Indeed it is, out of the low-key racing camp in 8th. So that whole kind of group all together, maybe 7, 8 deep. If they line up, they could run them down now with a bit of passing at the front. But any more moves at this point, and quickly you'll see that a whole straightaway might go by before you see 6th place.
Yeah, Liam 4 there on the number 4 machine. He's up a couple of spots there. He's up to 7th. I think he's gotten around at least Miles Brownfield. And yeah, so now he's up to 8th. So I got to say, this second group of Yusuf Adi and Austin Taylor with Brownfield 4, Hemphill, and Murphy, it's become now a 2-cart fight there. Adi and Taylor have pulled away from the rest of the group. And up front, Slate Harrell and Feitinger have created a small margin between themselves and Sears and Greer.
Let's go down to pit lane here as Caleb Viesca continues to bring you all the intel from the grounds at Charlotte Motor Speedway. 3.5 laps in the book so far as Slate Harrell leads.
Thank you, Xander. I'm standing by here with James Perkins. James, I want to take you back to the Grand Nationals last year. You and your son Jed missed out, hurricanes in Florida. Your first race back at Cup Karts North America, a victory. How are you feeling after that one?
Oh, man, I was saying on the other interview, it's probably my favorite race of all times because it was really with a bunch of legendary guys in the Legends class. I mean, any one of us could have won it. Blessed day. It was really great to be back out here.
And the respect in between you guys, I saw, a bunch of drivers, the respect you guys had, the hugs. Talk about, I guess that, right, the respect you guys had after the racetrack as well.
Yeah, a lot of those guys, Phil Pignataro, Todd Bolton, all those guys are legends in their own mind, and they've won so many races. Honestly, both of those guys won pies. All those guys could have won that race. It was a last lap deal, and I'm just blessed to be racing with them. They all pushed really great. They worked together great. It was just fun racing.
And talk about what was going on in the helmet as well in that last lap. You were in the lead, got passed by Phil, and it was tight going through the S's there as well.
Yeah, I wasn't even sure that was Phil behind me. I thought it was Todd, and Phil came out of nowhere. So when I was going through the fast stuff, I was like, okay, I got a really good run here. I just really dedicated to hitting every mark. I came out of there, and I knew it was go time. Phil went low. I just went high, ran around the outside, had great momentum. The kart was perfect. And then ran it up the inside line and took the outside all the way through the double up, which is a little hairy. I was right on the fringe of losing it, and the momentum carried me through, and the rest was history. So,
Who would you like to thank for this victory, James?
well, obviously my family, my wife, Molly and Marion at home watching us, and my son Jed, LSR. The whole LSR team has been awesome. Marshall's awesome. Ewan, and I was on a CRG, so I want to thank the whole CRG team. We've been running that. That's an old CRG, and she just goes. So, thanks to everybody. Thanks to you guys, man. I got your lucky shirt on today.
There you go. That could have done it. Congrats, James.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
There you go.
I was able to give a little story there from the time where I was working on the side officiating to help pay the bills while we built our brand up, Alex. But James Perkins, Jed Perkins, obviously his son, Jed, many don't know, has also worked for us on off weekends as a camera guy. He's got himself a whole life ahead now, graduating college, and happy to see both of them still at the racetrack. But I think the proudest part of them is as we were getting going and knowing how little we were at that time, James and Jed were one of the first two to get in line and buy whatever T-shirts we had. They've been supporters from the start. Cool to get to call one of James's victories here. And like he mentioned, that was a very legendary lead pack. Any one of them could have won it. I think we're in store for a different kind of race here. You've got Yusuf Adi, Austin Taylor, and Brownfield in this pack. They have been kind of in lockstep for the majority of it, but what was a big breakaway at the front of the field of 4 to 5 is now down to pairs. Slate Harrell and Will Feitinger out by more than a second to Ruben Greer and Daniel Sears.
Where's it actually happened? So Braden Clossy was the 5th driver in that top 5. He was dropped. Yusuf Adi and Austin Taylor caught up to him, so that's actually the 60 of Braden Clossy. Then it's Brownfield leading the next group there of Hempful and Height on the Nitro machine. That's 8th, 9th, and 10th. So this is a situation just like what we've seen all weekend long. You have the leading duo, then a second duo of Greer and Sears, then a trio from Adi, Taylor, Clossy, and then another trio. So this is the natural progression of the races here at Charlotte Motor Speedway where, once you start battling, once one person checks up, it separates the pack. And then, of course, people know that they need each other to work together. And so naturally, you're going to see smaller groups begin to form as the natural field progression continues. And further back, I'm trying to see what positions we're looking at here.
Small groups here. This is a huge one. Talk about a big pack right in the middle. Kicking off with the number 33 machine, actually going ahead of him by 2. The 102. So this is all right now.
19th.
Yeah, 18th, 19th. On back. Hodges, Encel, Cam Decker. Decker right there in the 33. Birel Art right behind him. We've got a few more. So Cole Decker, Drew Schneider, Samson Plorde, Anthony De Donato, Bodie Bayer. I mean, this pack here right in the dead center of the overall grid.
Jackson Reynolds is actually in this group, and if you remember, he was actually spun around by Austin Taylor to start this race. So he's got himself in a decent position, 27th. And he's in a good enough group that he might be able to get himself a top 20. And whenever you're spun around facing the racetrack, a top 20 is about as good as you can do.
It's a nice consolation for the ride here for
Reynolds.
Reynolds to at least have a lot of passes on the GoPro film and a lot of charges back up in a good diagonal line. Let's go down to pit lane here right as we watch the halfway mark. A duo showing that 2 karts are faster than 1, and sometimes they're faster than a whole pack. Slate Harrell and Will Feitinger continue to lead the way.
Thank you, Xander. I'm standing by here with Isaac Nako, who's been making some noise in his 3rd race here in Senior Light. Isaac, firstly, talk to me about your weekend and what it's like racing Senior this weekend as well.
Yeah, the weekend's been going good so far. We've been fast all week. I know we're going to have the pace in the final. Just hopefully make it through the first couple of laps, and I know we'll be right there. And honestly, I'm liking Senior a lot. I'm doing really good, so yeah.
Yeah, and again, I mean, a lot of older guys around you, right? How has it been out there trying to earn your respect against some of the guys who've been doing this for quite some time?
Yeah, it's good. Basically, just got to be nice to everybody else, and they'll be nice to you, You make one dumb decision, they'll do something back, so you got to be smart.
There you go. Thank you, Isaac. And a very mature, I guess, answer to that. Best of luck, Isaac.
Yep, thanks.
Thanks, Caleb. Yeah, that tracks. I mean, that's pretty much, I think, what a lot of the kids echo when they move up to race the adult divisions is, you know, in a class like this here, you're still dealing with elementary, middle school, not politics, but the dynamics of it all, where you can kind of bully and muscle your way a little bit. You're not going to do that to, you know, a Sean Meyer or an Owen Lloyd. You're definitely not going to do that to the legends of you know, James Perkins, Phil Pignataro, and that entire crew that put on a great race. And so for Isaac Malkiewicz to pick up on that so early, that kid has had a great head on his shoulders for quite some time now. We've been able to witness a lot of his journey up the ranks. I'm excited to see what he can do here in his first senior light main event.
Yeah, I thought that was a really mature response, like Caleb mentioned. Just you do something silly, expect the same sort of thing back to you. Race how you want to be raced. And I think in the Cup Karts North America side of things, especially when you get to the 4-cycle racing, you tend to find that the drivers respect the kids that move up to senior if you're fast more than you would maybe the 2-cycle side of things, because you need to work with the fast kids at the end of the day. Whether you want to work with Ike or not, he's fast. And I was talking to Colin Warren about it yesterday, and he said, listen, the kid is good. You got to look out for him because he's on the charge, and he's one of the ones to watch as he furthers his career. And for a driver making basically his senior debut, he did it down at Kart Week, but now on the Cup Kart side of things, this has been incredibly impressive, and he's a driver that we can look out for in a senior light win, which I can't imagine I'd be saying. And he's a driver that if you actually look, it's funny where his pedal box is. It's right on top of the tie rods.
I was going to say that, right? Talking about drivers you want to keep an eye on. The other part of why they're okay to respect the young kids when they move up is, well, they might be a smaller hole in the air to punch. And so Isaac Malkiewicz, a great leader with how small he pokes a hole, especially for someone like myself or Colin Warren that are a little bit bigger in the go-kart, or even Owen Lloyd for that matter, who's like 6'4". Back to the on-track action, though, with senior light on deck. We've been keeping tabs on pretty much everyone but the 2 leaders because nothing's really happened for them. There's been a little bit of a break between 3rd and 4th. Ruben Greer has kind of inched away from Daniel Sears there. And behind them, Braden Clossy, Austin Taylor, Brownfield. That's the group that we've been mainly following here with maybe 7 or 8 deep. But coming to the line this time, 4 laps remaining. Slate Harrell on the Nitro kart and Will Feitinger on the MPG Kart Republic. 2 teams that have had long-standing ties with the greater motorsports world. Of course, recently announced this year, such a cool program with Nitro Kart. Nick Tucker, they've got their Nitro family and Nitro Motorsports crew between the GR Cup Series, Trans Am, and much more, I'm sure, in the works. They've got their ARCA Menard Series team debuting this year, and the Nitro Kart program here in karting having now an official alliance with Chip Ganassi Racing's driver development program is huge. And then, of course, MPG Motorsports, founded by longtime NTT IndyCar Series strategist and one of the major players in the Aero McLaren era over the last few seasons, Billy Vincent. These 2 groups, they have focused themselves on developing the next generation of motorsports superstars. 2 of them right now in the hunt for the race win with 4 seconds to boot to the next couple, and then another 4.5 from them to the MPG machine of Austin Taylor, battling and currently holding that final podium spot.
Yeah, on the edge of the top 5 here, this battle has blown up because from when we last really kept tabs on it, it was Greer, Sears, Taylor, and Clossy were together. Now it's Ruben Greer by himself in 3rd, a second back to Sears, and then 4 seconds back to this group. This is the final step on the podium, as you mentioned, with Austin Taylor, Braden Clossy, Brownfield, Hemphill. So this is going to be the group to watch here for the next couple of laps until we get to the final lap there, where we can really focus on the battle for the win with Harrell and Feitinger. 2 mature drives from the top 2 drivers, just keeping it clean, no need to battle to the last lap. Unlike this group, which it seems like they have swapped positions every single lap.
This time by white flag, second to last time down the backstretch. There's not much time left, Alex, but there are lappers looming. More cars potentially getting into the mix of things here through the long sweeper towards the grid corner. We're going to defend for the lead already. Slate Harrell a little bit low, not a lot, just about a lane or 2 off the main line. Now he's going to go way low into that last turn. Look at all the marble and dirt offline. He's going to hit it and go way wide. That dirty off-track section costing the race leader, and Will Feitinger, after pushing him away for what felt like all 17 opening laps, takes command here on the final circuit.
Seems like it's been the story of the afternoon so far, is drivers letting people lead for 17 laps, because all you have to do is lead the last one. You don't even have to lead a lap, just lead the last corner. And for Will Feitinger, he's actually defending clean air right now. He doesn't need to go low. I don't think he realizes his gap back to Slate Harrell has grown tremendously. And now with that defensive move down towards the bottom of the racetrack, it's allowed Harrell to get close enough to where he could have a grandstand finish here towards the stripe.
Final time, final turn. Will Feitinger, talk about a perfect lap under pressure to the line. It'll be a last-second effort for Slate Harrell. He's not going to get there. Will Feitinger wins in Charlotte. He wins the cadet main event here for the Spring Nationals as the black and checkers wave. And I don't believe it's going to be for either of your top two. It was probably for that group that just crossed the line that we were watching for so much of this race. How about some of the middle pack as well? We were following 20th back to 30th. They were a good ways back from the leaders, but that main group is about to hit the loop here in maybe a couple more seconds. They're probably out of that last turn now, and they've definitely splintered from where they once were. But a lot of them all to the wayside from the top 15, though. Look at this. Look at the gaps. 6 seconds to Dalton Sears and Ruben Greer, plus or minus. Another 5 to Austin Taylor, Braden Clossy, and crew. Just an utter display of patience for your top two.
From 5th to 9th is 4/10. 4/10 of a second. You could think it's a qualifying session with how close that second pack was, but I want to give a quick shout out to a couple of drivers here, especially Jackson Reinholds, who we talked about in the middle of that race was up to 27th from basically last. He finished the race in 18th position there, and he was the leader of that train. So he actually got to the front of that entire group that we saw on around lap 10, where there was 10 to 12 go-karts in the mix. The next car in front of him was Grant Heckman, 4 seconds up the road. So I think if you're Jackson Reinholds, if you're Nitro Kart, you maximized what could have been a bad race.
Let's take a look back at the results for the rest of your field here in Cadet. You can see the deltas down to 40-plus seconds back. I thought we might have gotten to lap traffic at the end. We just barely avoided it. The CKNA officials, I believe, may have flagged off a few of them just to keep things clean and safe. 39 entered. Sadly, only 38 got to take the green. Heartbreak for Jackson Brewster there on that pace lap. But we at least got the majority of them to the line to kick it off. Senior Light is just about ready, folks. You can see Colin Warren there in the lime greenish yellow and white VLRTS Racing colors. The 7-Eleven leading Isaac Malcutt on that inside lane. Sportsman's going to be on deck here. After them, of course, Masters, Senior, Medium will then close out the afternoon. 4 classes remain, 5 in the books for the on-track activities from Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR, with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today. DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the 2-time world champion DPK Alonso Kart factory team in Europe.
In partnership with Team Binnick, they offer drivers a complete career path from the Americas to Europe that allows them to continue their driver development on both sides of the world, all underneath the DPK umbrella.
For more information, contact DPK Americas at max@drivensm.com to take the next step in your driver development journey today.
Are you ready to get... Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We're ready to go. Senior light onto the circuit. Colin Warren will lead your field alongside Caleb Gaffera, North Carolina's own, in the blue and black and green on the outside. Malcutt, McKeithen, couple young guns on row 2. Here we are in the tram lines looking for the green. First time by. Do we get it from Jason Burgess? We do. We're racing 50 deep in senior light through turns 1 and 2.
What a start for Little Sizzle there on the inside. He's going to try to get around Caleb Gaffera there, and I think he might make it stick further back. They're side by side all the way throughout the field. One driver way off the racetrack there. That is, I couldn't really get a number there. I think it might have been one of the 211 machine there. No, that was Jamie Stropko there on the 111, sorry, going way off the racetrack through turn number 5 and 6. Whoa, what a hit there. Cameron Reed has pounded the outside wall.
Big impact there for the young lady, and she is now stuck behind the tire wall. She'll get back onto the circuit a good ways back, though. First lap coming to a close. What's going to be the order when they hit the line? They're sending the rookie backwards. Malcutt's going to fall to maybe 3rd, 4th, maybe 5th. Overbeck's alongside. Lloyd behind him. They'll be okay, as there's yellows waving, green flag waving for most of your field, though. Back to it across the line. 1 down, 17 to go. Colin Warren leads your field.
I almost think of it as like a quarterback on a football field, right? Trying to analyze what defense they're going to be in before the play is even called. The opening stages of the race is one of those things where you can kind of tell immediately how the race is going to unfold based on how the drivers around you are racing and what position you're in and how far the group in front or behind you has either pulled away or you have pulled away from them. And so it obviously varies depending on where you are on the racetrack. And for Colin Warren and Caleb Gaffera, they had a bit of a gap to the likes of McKeithen, but the BJR PPK driver there has pulled himself back into the mix, and one pass has made a 2-car breakaway, a much larger train. What a crossover for Dylan Amundsen. And for Dylan, that's a driver that we have touched on throughout the weekend, being a guy that likes to work with Colin Warren. They were teammates last year, not teammates this year, but Colin Warren referred to him in the interview yesterday as a teammate. Those are two guys that are buddies on and off the racetrack. They share setups with each other. And now, with Amundsen charging through the field, he might be able to find his buddy there later on in this one. We just saw a move for the lead. McKeithen, Gaffera, back to the point. This train has grown to 6, and it's about to become 8. Overbeck, Amundsen, and Aitken are in the train as well.
Yeah, I mean, when you've won as many races as Dylan Amundsen and Colin Warren have when they've worked together, that kind of bond stays between chassis brands intense in the pits, that you know that's someone that you can work with, that you can you want up at the front with you, as we've got someone into the wall. That is the 02 Coyote slamming the tire barrier, and it's also collected Eli Fox on the 222 New Gen Motorsport machine. CJ Bowman. Clay Bowman into the wall there. Check it out further back there. That's Cade Yeager, the rookie, trying to work his way forward on the gold and gray. Here's two teammates making a little bit of contact. That's not what you want to do, boys. Lucas Theck, James Overbeck, wheel to wheel, and Overbeck finally gave way, but I don't think he's willing to work with the 52. He's going to go by him right here. Turn 1, inside, make sure to get it done this time, and Colin Aitken will follow suit.
Aitken's going to go through, and Amundsen around the outside. It becomes the inside for 5. He's going to go through, and now Will Lawler is going to join in as well. So for Lucas Theck, for a brief moment, he was up to P6, down to 10th, and for Overbeck, you see him give the signal to Colin Aitken. Colin Aitken ignores it completely. He's going to go through now to 5th, and I think Aitken can see what we're seeing on our screen right now. The fighting up front is beginning to ensue, and you usually want to be the first driver in that second group to get to the fighting so you can take advantage of any mistakes that they can make in front of you. Lloyd through now on Warren, and for Colin Warren, you talk about drivers that have won a lot of races. That is the winningest driver in Grand Nationals history there. I think this is one of those things where it's as planned for Colin Warren. I mean, obviously you'd rather lead every single lap and, cruise to the finish, but for Colin Warren, he's a driver that seems to always figure it out. How does he do it? He could fall back outside the top 10. He finds himself in positions to win the race, and it's races like this, I feel like, where maybe the go-kart's not where you want it 6 laps in, but he's patient. And that's the thing with four-stroke racing, is finding the balance between aggression and patience.
Through the grid corner now with the gap, probably the biggest one from the lead, thanks to another pass. This time, Colin Warren, Owen Lloyd right back in on him with a quick answer. These two drivers never really seem to, in my opinion, collide. Of all the usual contenders at the front of the field, I haven't really felt like I've called a race, Alex, that Owen Lloyd and Colin Warren have been in a disagreement, but we're watching it right now happen in real time. And Colin, on his second time back by in half a lap, tapped the helmet to say, look, you need to follow me. And I think Owen's going to be the bigger of the two of them and push him back to the lead.
Colin's not a very animated guy, so to actually see some hand signals from Colin Warren is pretty new to me. I mean, he's a driver that we know can get frustrated at times when he feels like the drivers around him aren't racing smart or to his liking, but for Colin Warren, I mean, I referred to him kind of as the Iceman this morning on the warm-up show because I felt like, listen, that's a driver that is pretty short and concise with his words, but one of the smartest drivers to talk about on and off the racetrack. He has a really good understanding of this brakes package, how to set up a go-kart, and he's very open with information, and so it's no doubt as to why he's probably a little bit frustrated with the racing that's happening early on in this one. Now that he's gotten to the lead of that second group, he's caught up pretty quickly to the two leaders there. Gaffera, Malkowit, Warren. Here goes McKeithen back through to the inside on Warren. Warren's going to let him have it there, but the more they race, this 5-kart group is going to grow because Overbeck has brought Amundsen with him.
Yeah, James Overbeck, Dylan Amundsen, those two were a good ways away from the main pack not long ago. Still a lot of racing left, and Caleb Gaffera, Isaac Malkut pulling away just a little bit from the field earlier, but now they've been reeled in. Chris McKeithen trying to follow Malkut through. Can he get by for second? He can't. Gaffera slots back into line. Now a great setup, a great over-under. Oh, that was clean from the 19. Set that up 2 corners prior, Alex.
Yeah, and the two leaders just ran through a bit of dirt there through the S's, so I wonder if a driver further back that we didn't get on camera had a bit of a trip through the grass, and it's one of those things we haven't really talked about too much. It's more common at a racetrack like Newcastle where there's constant dirt being put on the racetrack, but I feel like we've seen enough off-road action throughout the weekend with drivers cutting the corner to evade some chaos that is something that we haven't really discussed. The leaders potentially going through dirt sometimes and grip levels being lower than expected. We saw Owen Lloyd just make a move there on the likes of Aitken. Amundsen has brought Adam Brickley back in the mix, and James Overbeck, who started that last lap inside the top 6, is now fallen back to 10th as the driver in front of him, Adam Brickley, the driver who missed the LCQ in senior medium, having a much better showing here in senior light.
Yeah, this is going to be an early exit, obviously, for Brickley, not running in the final race of the day, but hopefully he can make the most of the one that he does have a shot in, as we see James Overbeck and Dylan Amundsen now having to deal with Will Lawler. You saw Overbeck a little narrow. I thought he was going to go on the 136. He was actually, I think, trying to keep the number 10 behind him. Not going to happen. Will goes by. Here comes the Lucas. And Lucas Theck and James Overbeck find themselves right back next to each other again. Check out another one closing in on that main group. We're going to probably stack them up to 11 deep now, 12 deep. Christopher Wakefield closing up on the number 27.
Yeah, and this group's going to continue to get bigger and bigger. Christopher McKeithen leads over Malkowit, Warren, Guevara, and Lloyd, but it feels like this top 5 has changed every single lap, and as the laps continue to tick down, we're over halfway home, but still 7 to go. It's a long race, this main event, and now Aitken has brought Brickley through. Amundsen's going to get into the mix here momentarily. There goes Warren. There goes Lloyd on Guevara. There goes Aitken, and Brickley, he wants to make it 3 wide here. The 88 machine up and over the curbing. The only problem is he's on the outside, and Guevara won't let it slide.
No, he will not, and Caleb Guevara from leading this race early on. Now he's going to wave Brickley by. I think a little bit upset that move he wasn't enough to get Adam to back off, and thankfully Caleb's going to get help in the form of Dylan Amundsen behind him, and with Amundsen fending off Will Lawler, sending him now to get passed by James Overbeck, the two MGMs are going to have a little bit of time to kind of regroup. And you talk about the dirtiness offline. Well, this section right here brings, I think, more marbles onto the racetrack than anything else, because how many times have we seen a driver just have to take evasive action in that chicane and drag all the gravel with them, and then that's in the brake zone going in the last turn. Same thing kind of happens here. Talking with Matt Del Sol, one of the many senior drivers that has been a regular here at the CKNA Spring Nats over the last couple of years. He said, man, I've never seen this surface take the level of grip and rubber that it has this year. And last year was arguably, I think, a tick bigger on the entry count. So not only does that mean that the grip online is that much higher, but it also means if the rubber's coming off the tires, well, it's going off to the wayside. Offline, all those dark specks in the lighter part of the circuit, I mean, that is just basically trash and ice if you're driving over it. So what's that mean? Well, it means that if you end up getting passed, if you go offline, if you get shuffled in the bad lane, the outside lane, for one turn, it takes you 2 to 3 turns to kind of recover and get back to clean tires again.
Yeah, and that's been some of the struggles that we have seen throughout the weekend, no matter what class they're in, because, again, the marbles don't change depending on the class. Besides, they just tend to worsen. I know at the beginning of the weekend, the CKNA staff were, blowing the marbles off the racetrack, but as the heats have gone on, they have stopped doing so. And so the marbles will only get worse as the weekend goes on. Like we mentioned, I think yesterday, it wasn't as bad. It began to get worse as the night went on, but with how high the winds were, it was blowing the marbles off the racetrack, sometimes on track, but now the winds have settled down. The rubber's really getting thrown on the racetrack, and again, it's really starting to create just one solid line, making it tougher and tougher to pass, inviting the crossover moves to happen. Now, 4 laps to go. This time they just crossed the stripe. Warren leads over McKeithen, Malkowit, Lloyd, Aitken. That is the top 5. They have about an 8/10 buffer to the second quintet here of Brickley, Guevara, Amundsen, Overbeck, and Theck. Adam Brickley probably can't believe his luck. I mean, on one half, he was frustrated he didn't even make the man in medium. On the other half, in light, he's got a chance to go out there and wheel that go-kart to the win. He's going to need a couple of things to fall his way here, one of them being Guevara not racing him this hard, but through the S's there, Brickley holds on. To me, if I'm Brickley, Guevara kind of just showed his hand a little bit early. You know now, if you're the 88 machine, those MGMs behind you are not going to work with you.
I think, though, in the case of Caleb Guevara, him wanting to make that move early, he obviously doesn't trust that Adam Brickley's got enough speed in that happy cart to reel in the top 5 for whatever reason. Dylan Amundsen now is going to be the decision maker of whether or not they push the 88 back up to the lead or try to poke their own hole. They're going to need to make it fast, and they're going to probably need to bank on some immature driving from 2 very mature drivers there in first and third, and one young driver displaying a lot of maturity in second. But sadly, I think the veterans are not going to let him stay that close to the lead. Isaac Malkut, talk about a dirt track moment there. Big bounce through the grass. And the third-generation racer is now back to the second group with 2 to go.
Unfortunately, the bleeding might continue here Brickley through, Edmondson through, and like you mentioned, Xander, when you go through the dirt, it takes a couple corners to get all that clag off your tire, and I think Malkowitt beginning to struggle now, and as the pack grows in that second group, Malkowitt's hopes of a win on debut at Cup Karts North America Senior Racing is starting to fade away. Now up front, a lap and a half to go. Warren slightly defensive through the sweeper corner. Further back, Feck through a Malkowitt.
Oh!
Cade Yeager hard into the wall, and whoa, a big hit further back. That's Will Lawler.
Yeah, and he's going to collect one of the LGKs, the 342 involved. Back up front, the MGMs are going to work. Colin Warren to the second spot, Lloyd to the lead, but Colin Aitken couldn't follow. And could you script this any better? The year Christopher McKeithen got his Grand Nats win, Colin Warren was the driver that kind of, I think, got bit the most by McKeithen's teammates, specifically James Overbeck. And Colin's kind of had it out for the Coyotes. He's been looking to have any other brand maybe help and win. In the Grands last year, Henry Wheeler and him shook hands across the line. But he's going to need maybe McKeithen's help to keep Colin Aitken at bay and give him a fighting shot at Owen Lloyd. Half a lap to go. Last time to the grid corner. Lloyd blocks low. McKeithen is going to give Colin an opportunity to tuck back in. Last turn. Where do you go? 60. McKeithen to the white line. Owen Lloyd with an over-under. Here comes Colin Aitken to give him some help. Here's Brickley to the line. Lloyd wins in senior light, and it's another 1-2 for the MGM South Georgia karting boys.
Unbelievable scenes, and further back, Reagan Seville had a major issue out of the final corner, hopping over the line across the stripe in 16th. But can you believe it for MGM, for Owen Lloyd and Colin Aitken? 1-2 twice on the day so far, and they're going to try to make it 3 times because they're both running triple duty. This is an unbelievable, unprecedented run for those two drivers. Adam Brickley, wow, 3rd step on the podium for Happy Kart there. Amundsen makes it an MGM 1-2-4. And for James Overbeck, I feel like he was a ways away halfway through that race. He fell back to 12th at one point, I think at his worst. But the BGR PPK crew kept at it, and they crossed the stripe 5th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, with Warren falling outside the podium as it stands.
Check in on some of the big movers. How about Henry Wheeler up to 18th from way back for the number 0 machine. He had to start deep in this field to climb himself into the top half of it. And again, this is just half. Brady Atwood also up a number of spots. We saw him have a moment earlier in that senior heavy race. Emily DeMaster, talked with her this morning. She ends up with a top 25 finish, top half finish. Not bad for the young lady on, as she mentioned, her first big weekend with the Coyote Zenith and the Roderick Racing Development Camp that she has called home for the last couple seasons. Cameron Reed had that scary moment. So it was Tristan Altman that was also, I believe, involved in that same lap with maybe Will Lawler. Not sure on the same incident or not. But the 08 PKC, Tony Kart, Lawler on the Sodi, and the others out earlier. Clay Bowman, we saw him nosing into the wall. Eli Fox, Braden Heber out early. Logan Upton, the other driver among that back row, not able to finish this senior light main event. 3 races still to go. Sportsman now on grid. We've got our final couple of main events rolling your way, folks. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed the coverage so far. We've enjoyed bringing it to you. Great finish. Another action-packed run. Karts are rolling now for the Sportsman division in the 7th seed on our lineup on the day. Parker Ives and Daniel Dragunov will lead your field to green. These two well, they drove away by, I think, more than any other pair last night under the lights. I mean, they were a testament to what you can do if you trust the driver that you want to work with. They'll line up on the front row here with the Nitro Karts of Aston Wyatt and Gavin Dyer back behind them on row 2.
Yeah, I got a chance to speak with Cade Wolf this morning. He feels like his go-kart's pretty good. He's just going to have to try to split the Nitro Kart pairing like Dragunov did under the lights last night. Keegan Irwin in P6, Hayden Lawson, Parker Stewart, row 4, Ryder Thompson, R.J. Brown, your top 10 drivers.
Back on to Milo Gibaldi there in 11th, Logan McCloskey in 12th, Jonathan Bore. We'll take a quick look here for you to be able to find your favorite driver down on the final few rows. And as you can see, Jason Burgess at the ready. We're green here with a first time by. How about that for Sportsman? But we've got contact and around right in front of the field. Cade Wolf in the 154. One more stuck with him. Two more off and into the dirt. Gavin Dyer is involved. So is the 904 Nitro Kart as well. Big lead to start it for Aston Wyatt and Parker Ives down the back straightaway.
I cannot believe that it's still the Nitro Kart pairing of Wyatt and Ives after all the chaos. That was Cade Wolf and that was Keegan Irwin. They were on row number 3, and they're going to be essentially out of this one, even if they can keep it going. But for Aston Wyatt, it was the dream start for him. And for Parker Ives, unintentionally got into the side there of Daniel Dragunov. I think he just slid a little bit too wide. That's one of those things, Xander, we were talking about where the marbles begin to form. You start on the inside row. It can be tough to have grip, and if you go in there with the same amount of roll speed as the guys on the outside, you might not have the grip that you'd expect to have in the opening lap there. Nonetheless, further back, that's the number 10 machine of Hayden Lawson going through on Jonathan Bohr. That's the battle for the final step on the podium.
Yeah, Hayden Lawson on the parallel's been kind of on the cusp of a big results here today, trailing through the weekend, but he's been trailing kind of that last few spots at the top of the pylon. Same with a lot of the drivers right around him there. Logan McCloskey, we talked a lot about back at the Grands on the Ricardo kart. Let's see who else we can find here in this group, now led by Dragunov, trying to keep touch with the top 2 who are already beginning to break away. Move maybe at the back of the line on the 49 Intrepid. That's Smith side by side for the 10th position. Wyatt Smith and Wyatt Fink going at it, it looked like.
Milo Gibaldi, by the way, started outside the top 10, but with all the chaos that ensued on the opening lap, he's found himself in 4th on that bright orange and neon green go-kart, the 619 machine. You can't miss it if you tried, and he is all over the bumper of Daniel Dragunov. If these two can start to work together, they can maybe make some headway on the top 2, but I got to say, this is a nightmare stuff for the rest of the field. Nitro 1-2. I can guarantee they won't really fight that hard for the next 15 laps.
2 laps done so far, but it's a long way to go still. And if they have anything happen, well, you're going to see it. Let's go side by side down to pit lane with Caleb.
I saw my teammate back there, and I was like, I knew I had this. And so overall, I had a great race, and looking forward to next one.
And again, I mean, you got over-under there by Colin Wright in the heavy race. Did you know that move was coming from McKeithen and the rest of the guys that were going to try to over-under you in the second last corner?
No, I thought Colin was going to do it, Colin Warren. So I looked back, I saw him. I parked it on Apex, and so I wouldn't let it happen again. I wouldn't make that mistake again.
Yeah, 1-2 for recording to start off weekend. Oops, I think for the victory.
I think my whole family, SGK, of course, Bo Scurry, Jacob Duvall, Uncle Frankie, and Mike Capps.
We'll see you back on the racetrack for a senior medium.
Thank you.
You guys have from Owen Lloyd.
Good to hear from Owen in good spirits about how the day's going, not taking that first win or loss to heart. That he said, no, once I knew who was back there and what was going to happen, I wasn't going to let it happen again. That's the right mentality. 4 laps in the books here, 14 laps to go. Aston Wyatt and Parker Ives still locked together. Daniel Dragunov, this group here, Milo Gibaldi on that all-yellow comp cart, and then Hayden Lawson there on the parallel with a big leap forward this morning and into the afternoon now. Let's take a look at the movers and shakers here from this one. 7 up for Milo Gibaldi, a couple up for Hayden Lawson in that kind of methodical charge towards the top. Ryan Hall's up a good bit. Jonathan Bore. Again, remember we had all those spinners on the first lap. Cade Wolf, Ryder Thompson, Gavin Dyer from turn 1, lap 1. And that's given a big boost to kind of maybe 8th to 15th on back to pick up positions.
Yeah, we just saw a move there. Parker Stewart going down the inside of Andrew Adams there. That was the fight for 8th and 9th. R.J. Brown in the mix as well on that one. But back up front, a quick shout out there to Milo Gibaldi, actually. I mean, he started this race 11th. He just went purple, 48.171, slightly quicker than the 2 leaders last time by. Let's see what it is this time, matching the pace of the 2 leaders. So right now for Dragunov and for Gibaldi, the best thing that these two can do alongside the number 10 of Hayden Lawson is continue to push each other. No need to make any moves. No need to make anything happen other than working together, because you can almost guarantee, you can write it in the book, Aston Wyatt, Parker Ives won't budge from their spots until the last lap. And there's 11 and a half laps to go. I would be surprised, unless there's an issue for one of those 2 drivers, that they do anything other than push each other. So for Daniel Dragunov, for Milo Gibaldi, all you can really ask for is more pace out of your go-kart here. And I got to give him credit, because as quick as Dragunov has been all weekend, Milo Gibaldi has been quick. He's been there. He's been a consistent top 10 finisher, but starting 11th in this main event, it's one of those things where he's a driver that maybe we didn't expect to be this far towards the front this early on in the race, but he has shown a really good pace. He went purple again, and they just took 2.5 tenths out of the lead. It's starting to close in. It's about 1.3 seconds as a couple drivers there, the 14 and the 74, come together on the final corner there. That's Charlie Conard and John Dwyer. That was the fight for 22nd and 23rd.
This time by, it'll be 8 laps complete, 10 laps to go. Oh, we got yellows flying, I think, in this section here, or it looked like it might have been. Yeah, yellow flags out. What for? 2 carts colliding. The 74 machine and the gold cart as well.
That was John Dwyer and Charlie Conard there from the previous
lap. Yeah. So they still didn't have them cleared.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough, right? When you're in the middle of the racetrack, there's not a whole lot you could do with those go-karts to clear them, because it separates the final corner from the first corner. So it's a tough situation for the CKNA staff to try to move that go-kart to a safe enough place. So I agree with the yellows being thrown out there. And for some of these Sportsman drivers on our screen now, the number 9 there of Hall and Jonathan Bohr, the 28, I think Jonathan did a good decision to back out of that move last lap. Now he's going to make the move stick into the sweeper here. And unfortunately for Ryan Hall, he'll go from 6th to 10th.
Not ideal for the number 9. Can he maybe just push away, though, to stop it there? Because if he lets this battle open up any more, well, you can see that already, that there's more carts lined up behind him. 4 more to be exact, ready to go. Big move to the inside. This will keep him close. Parker Stewart in the number 2 is going to pick up another spot, move him up and into 6th. One driver who was impressive through a lot of last year was that BJR PPK entry. He's at least got himself back up to 2 spots net gained from what was a very shaky start that sent him down the board quite a ways. We'll come to the line now to put 10 down, 8 to go, and check it in on Dragunov and Gibaldi. It's just kind of stabilized, Alex. You mentioned how they picked up a 10th. They picked up a couple hundredths last time by. I don't know if they're picking up all too much more this time around, though. Let's see. Did it go down at all? Well, it did a lot. Oh, wow, it did a lot. Parker Ives took over the lead from Aston Wyatt, realizing that, well, they were not building a gap, and now they are well closer to 3rd and 4th. This group there, that 4-pack, still racing a good ways back. Hayden Lawson, unfortunately, has been kind of left all on his lonesome there in 5th.
Yeah, and lapping a couple of tenths slower than the guys behind him, Parker Stewart, R.J. Brown, Jonathan Bohr. This is a natural thing to see on this racetrack when you're by yourself versus drivers working together. It is pretty easy to lose ground, and then also easy to have the drivers behind you close in. Speaking of closing in, Daniel Dragunov has brought Milo Gibaldi into the mix. We just saw Parker Ives last time around get around Wyatt. He proved me wrong. I thought he'd wait to the white flag, but I think Parker Ives, throughout the middle stage of the race, kept looking back and realizing they're not pulling away to the extent that they thought they would. And so Parker Ives, smartly enough, put a go-kart between himself and the second group. Unfortunately, it's his teammate Aston Wyatt, but at the end of the day, you have to be a little bit selfish out there on the racetrack and just put yourself in prime position. And maybe it's one of those cases, Xander, you touched on it earlier on throughout the main events, of when you pass somebody before maybe expected. On our case, it's just one of those things where you feel like your go-kart's better leading than what Wyatt's was previously. So now, with Dragunov leading Milo Gibaldi, the only thing is he's starting to slightly pull away from Gibaldi, and that's the dilemma of being maybe slightly quicker than the guy behind you.
Yeah, for Daniel Dragunov, though, the only good part of him pulling away is it's partly, I think, due, Alex, just as much to the toe off the two in front. If he doesn't make a mistake, well, he's going to be able to maybe hang on to him, but there's no more safety net if you don't have a driver right on your bumper. Any mistake Dragunov makes, and those two will be back gone again, and this looks like this might have been the right call. You're still watching that gap kind of slowly inch down, but it's not going down as much as it was consistently before Daniel Dragunov got within the slipstream of these top two. So Parker Ives, he waited patiently behind Aston Wyatt, tried to push his teammate as far away from the field as he could. Ultimately, I think they may be a little better matched with this formation. And we mentioned earlier in Senior Light how, Isaac Malcuit being kind of a little bit shorter helps him. Parker Ives, a little bit shorter than Aston Wyatt, helps having the shorter driver out in front.
Yeah, it's a really good point you actually make there, and it might make sense why the likes of Wyatt's a better pusher here, but who knows? It could be just a setup situation. Who knows if they're on the same gear or not? So for Parker Ives, like you mentioned, it seems like this is the first time in about 3 laps that I've noticed the top two actually pull away from Dragunov. I think partly due to the fact that Dragunov, to his credit, is doing a great job even keeping within a tenth of the lap times the top two are running, considering Gibaldi is starting to slowly fade away here in that 4th place spot.
Yeah, Milo, I'll give him credit this lap, though. I think, Alex, he might have stopped it there at a full second. Let's see if it opened up at all. I think both he and Dragunov, and indeed, looked visually like they might have closed a little. They've closed enough. Check out all of the dirt and dust and debris offline there coming out of turn 2 through turn number 3. That's going to be something to keep an eye out for, especially when we get into the next division, the Masters class being the next ones to do a start through that sector. What will happen for the outside lane and potentially even the inside on the start to have to be on the outside then for turn 3 with all of that clag, as you mentioned, off the line.
It's no surprise that the last 2 to 3 starts that we've seen have become more and more chaotic. I think part of it's just due to the overall angst that the drivers have, right? The nerves, and just it's easy to make mistakes. It's also easy for drivers to feel like, okay, the grid is as bunched up as it's been, and so I need to make up some positions. But also with the marbles, I think unfortunately for Parker Ives, he didn't really mean to get into Dragunov on the opening stages of this race, but with the marbles building up on the inside of the racetrack and even on the outside throughout the S's as well, it's getting easier and easier to get into the driver next to you by accident. You don't even mean to. Now, with 2.5 laps to go, Milo Gibaldi is starting to really fade away here. He keeps making a good lap, and then he makes a mistake, and then puts a good lap together. But for Daniel Dragunov, he has been consistent. With nobody behind him the last 3 laps to push him, he's driven that new-gen machine up to the front, and now he's closed the gap to as close as he's been all race long.
Yeah, this is a testament of straight-up willpower right now here, Alex. 2 laps to go. Daniel Dragunov will not be denied from a chance to fight for the race win. The moment that Aston Wyatt finally pulls the pin and goes to the inside on Parker Ives for the race lead, well, it's all going to be a 3-car battle. And if Milo Gibaldi can just hang on, can just hang in there, keep the hope alive for maybe a little bit longer, he could spoil the party too. It all depends when the fight breaks out. Dragunov might even be able to get there beforehand as the hand signals start to flurry across that run by the scales. You saw a couple of the mechanics trying to motion to their drivers. Who's going to bail out first? We're coming to the white flag. Nothing in the last turn yet.
Well, I haven't seen Wyatt look back there, and they look back for the first time in a couple of laps there. You can obviously sense the drivers behind you, but at this point, Ives knows it. He goes low, Wyatt goes low. No crossover opportunity there because it leads into this S section of the racetrack. But for Daniel Dragunov, he is in prime position, like you mentioned. Once Wyatt eventually decides he wants to go on Parker Ives, it's really going to depend on what Ives does. How low does he go? How low does Wyatt go? And where does Dragunov go? If I'm Dragunov, I go to the inside here. He's going to poke a nose. He's going to muscle his way through. And now there's one driver between Dragunov and an improbable victory.
Daniel Dragunov still needs a perfect corner here. Parker Ives, the last time he was at Charlotte Motor Speedway, walked away from a draft-based class. Now into the final turn. Dragunov's going to close in. It'll be a big run, but it'll be too little too late. Parker Ives wins again at Charlotte Motor Speedway. He dominates the Sportsman main event for the second half onwards, and Nitro Kart remains victorious here with Aston Wyatt joining his teammate on the podium in third. Milo Gibaldi fourth. Hayden Lawson at the very end. He was getting reeled in by the Marinello of R.J. Brown, but he just was able to stay ahead of that group, stay on his marks long enough to join the four in front of him on the Charlotte podium as he ends in fifth provisionally. Brown, Stewart, Bore, Ryan Hall, Logan McCloskey, your top 10. And let's take a look down the rest of the order here really quickly, folks. Down to Laney Thigpen and Gavin Dyer. Of course, we saw him have the troubles. John Dwyer, Charlie Connard, Ryder Thompson, all of your DNFs. 24 able to finish from the Sportsman division. We're going to take a break here, folks. 2 races remain. Masters on grid. Senior Medium will follow.
You need it? We got it. At Kart Eat Parts, we are your complete online aftermarket kart part superstore. From chains to bearings to bumpers and components, we've got it in stock and ready to ship straight to your door from our base in Ontario, Canada. Check us out online at karteparts.ca.
Paulie Massimino wins in KA. Paulie Massimino is a winner in OKN Stars.
Take your driving to the next level with one-on-one coaching from 2024 OKN Stars champion, Paulie Massimino. Car rental options are available if you'd like to keep yours at home, and drivers in all classes are welcome. From Briggs 206 to Mini to K100 and X30. With in-depth data analysis, onboard video footage review, and lead follow on-track sessions, each private coaching session will see you end as a more complete driver than when you started. Book your coaching session now.
Brandon, why are there all these charges for just over $200 from Acceleration Kart Racing's website?
That's because AKR gives you free shipping on orders of $200 or more within the continental US.
Okay, but I thought you were just getting a pair of gloves. That's what, 70 bucks?
But if I'm getting a new pair of gloves, I might as well get a new pair of shoes to match. And then on top of that, I'll get a neck brace because with the shipping, it's basically free.
Yeah, I do not think the math checks out on that.
Everything you need, all in one place and shipped to your door for free for orders of $200 or more. Exclusions apply. Spend responsibly. Shop AKR.com.
Are you looking for an advantage in your competition? Well, Car Class has done the hard work for you. We've traveled to your racetracks to give you the inside knowledge. So what does Car Class offer? We've got drone footage that captures the racing lines, visual markers for your braking points, acceleration zones, and the best overtake opportunities on your racetrack.
Karts onto the racetrack now for the first of our final 2 divisions, CRG LSR Motorsports. Masters ready to go racing, folks. Here we are. Let's bring you the starting lineup, beginning with Mark Steele starting on the pole alongside the 115 MGM, Zach Linsell, Eric Fagan, John Price, row number 2.
Sean Meyer, Jamie Bradford, row number 3. Chris Carroll, Ian McIntyre, Eric Lassard, Brad Davis, your top 10 drivers. You go back to Don Fitzpatrick, James Brancotti, Todd Barron, JD Gunn, Ron Clythe, James Insko, and a bunch more here for the Masters crew. Looks pretty good here in the tram lines. A couple drivers' hands in the air. They're trying to slow it down, and they're going one more time around. Jason Burgess did not like it. It looked pretty good, but it looks like the driver's going a little bit too fast. Caleb, what you got for us?
Thank you there, Alex. I spoke a little bit to Chris Carroll before this race, and he was saying this is his first time back in the go-kart since the Grand Nationals, and he's just been trying to knock the cobwebs off all weekend long. And again, he was saying that he just has no idea what he was missing, and hopefully he can get it figured out here in this one, because he's definitely one of the drivers to look out for.
He looked a little bit better. I felt like in that senior heavy main than he had most of the weekend, making up a lot of ground as that race drew on. He's got his work cut out for him here in Masters. Let's see what he can do as we go back to our front row in the black and red stealth mode by Birol Art. Mark Steele Motorsports Machine on the right, and then on the left, the 115 Linsell Speed Shop. MGM, Zach Linsell. We're ready. Masters racing action to Jason Burgess down at turn number 1. Green flag in the air, and we're away.
Good start there for Mark Steele. Eric Fagan's going to follow his teammate through up in a second. Linsell's going to try to slide into P2. The outside becomes the inside there for 3. Further back, Todd Barron's going to make it 3 wide. That's a 2-for-1 deal there. He rolled off on the inside of row number 7, a bit further back than we could expect Todd to be, but he's already up inside the top 10, and there's more shuffling for positions. There's a bit of a hip check there to Chris Carroll. He's going to bring a couple more drivers with him.
That was John Price there in the 444. I don't know if that was intentional. That's Coyote on Coyote violence right there down at the end of the backstretch, but he was able to find a hole just behind the 498. Ian McIntyre, who's had a pretty consistent run all weekend inside the top 10 here in Masters. As Mark Steele takes us around that last turn and down the front stretch, we'll get an updated leaderboard with 1 lap completed. Look into 17 to go, and we've got 4 of them together, and someone's lost a tire.
Yeah, it looked like, one driver I think went up and over there, and we got a rogue tire on the middle of the racetrack, but there's a lot that the CKNA staff's going to have to fix before these drivers get through. Yeah, more carnage, the 113, the 315.
JD Gunn there in the 16 for the, sorry, is that, no, not JD Gunn. He's in the 14. That's the 16 machine who has gone around as we check back into the leaders. Yeah, Spirowski on the happy cart out in the infield.
Yeah, a couple more there. That was the fight for the low to mid-30s there, but again, good job by the CKNA staff. Great to see the drivers seemingly okay after that one, but they were able to get cleared up before these leaders got through. Linsell poked a nose for a moment on Eric Fagan, decides better of it. This is a large group, similar to what we saw in the Legends class. I mean, a lot of these drivers doing double duty. Not all of them, obviously, because you have guys like Zach Linsell, who this is his first year of eligibility in the Masters class. He's 35, and it made me feel pretty old when we interviewed Paul Nick Rice on the Grid Talk podcast saying Zach's running Masters, because he was my first ever teammate back when he was 28 years old.
He's been at it for quite some time, as has the two drivers in front of him. Eric Fagan and Mark Steele were able to mimic the likes of Linsell's younger teammates aboard the MGM brand, and Colin Aitken and Owen Lloyd in their final heat race. They pulled away. You saw Linsell there try to get past Fagan, didn't work, and now Sean Meyer, as that kind of side-by-side action works its way down the pack, pulls up even, but doesn't get around the 22 of Jamie Bradford, who's going to hang on strong there in that 4th position. So Jamie Bradford now has to reconnect the dots, as that those two going door-to-door in the chicane out of turns 1 and 2 cost them some time. Ian McIntyre now trying to move, not happening. That happens so often, of course, Alex, at this racetrack specifically, where, Chris Carroll up and onto the side of Ian McIntyre, and they're done. Just like that, stuck together going into the grid corner.
That also happens quite a bit here, Xander. I mean, frustrations begin to boil over, and when you go through the S's, and maybe if you're Ian McIntyre, you feel like the nose was chopped off of you just a little bit there, but it was all fair play from Sean Meyer, and unfortunately now for Meyer's teammate Chris Carroll, struggling to get it fired back up, but nonetheless, I mean, it puts them towards the tail end of the field anyways. Really unfortunate for two drivers that I think had pace to maybe make some headway to the top 5 there of Steele, Fagan, Linsell, Bradford, and Meyer, and with that contact, it's unleashed the Intrepid, a driver we haven't spoken about all race long, Eric Lassard to P6.
Here we go, down on into the grid corner once again. 5 cars in the main group, back to the Intrepid there in 6th and 7th. And then a gap back with Brancati in 8th, more or less. Maybe Brad Davis. Can they close on in? Now coming out of that last turn and down the front straightaway, they're going to close in even on the leaders as it gets even racier there for second. Whoa. Fagan versus Linsell, former teammates colliding out of turn number 2.
Yeah, now Linsell's on the back foot there. It's one of those things where you end up on the outside of turn number 1. It becomes the outside of turn number 3, and then you get pinched off heading into 5. So for Lindsell to only fall back to 4th is a bit of a miracle there for the 115 machine. But the only problem now with Lindsell, instead of making the move onto Eric Fagan, he's actually lost a spot. And I believe, knowing Zach for many, many years, he's a very smart driver, and he knows what it takes to win in the 206 class, no matter what it is, whether it's medium heavy or masters. He wants to split up the 2 Steel Motorsports Burrell Art drivers, right? Steel and Fagan.
Look at all the drivers. Dust, too, right there coming out of that last turn. I mean, sorry to interrupt you, Alex, but I mean, there is just so much going on. Look at this here. Everyone's trying to clear themselves when they're not fully done, and the guys that are getting past don't want to go backwards. That's cleared off kind of that second groove, and it basically over the course of the race, right, you have, or the course of the weekend, that dark groove, not only is it rubber laid down, it's a clear path with all the marbles offline. When these guys keep going side by side and fighting to the end of the corner, you basically have widened this groove now to 2 karts wide. So you can still kind of pressure someone when they try to show a nose to the inside to pass you, but then you have all those moments where then the end of the corner comes, the inside driver gets a little impatient or frustrated that you won't give them the space and puts you in the dirt. You bring dirt on the racetrack, and then the leaders hit it. I mean, there's been more than a few hairy moments for Mark Steele in this race alone where he seemed really out of shape in the brake zone. One of them even had Eric Fagan nearly run him over, but it was because there was so much dirt and debris on the racetrack drug on from drivers going off and then re-entering. And we're still only on lap number 8, mind you. There's a lot left in this.
A lot left to go, and Bradford wants to go, and frustrated there with Eric Fagan. Again, Fagan did nothing wrong. I mean, you're allowed to pinch the driver up and over the curbing, and as frustrating as it is to deal with, it's part of the racetrack, right? And that's why Eric Fagan's really just utilizing the width of that go-kart. Now he's going to have to concede it to 2 MGMs. There goes Bradford. There goes Lindsell. There goes Sean Meyer in the 30. Fagan now looks over his shoulder. Here comes Lassard, and here comes John Price.
Yeah, Eric Lassard, John Price. These 2 drivers here chipping away at the front of the field. Let's see how much they've gained. A couple positions apiece. With all of the action that's gone down so far, Elienko, one of the biggest movers, up 12 further back. And for the first time over the entirety of this 8.5 laps completed so far, Mark Steele has not been in the lead. That pass done by none other than Tennessee's Jamie Bradford, who now commands the pack going to the last turn.
And there goes Lindsell. No shock to see that. He sees his MGM teammate up front. He wants to follow him through, but Sean Meyer taking advantage of the contact between Lindsell and Steele. There goes Meyer through to P2, but Lindsell's going to hold on. Fagan's not going to try to slide his way through. There goes Steele. John Price, who was purple on back-to-back laps, is still trying to get around Eric Lassard, and I think he's going to force his way through, and frustratingly flailing his arms around there, and now all this fighting has brought out Brad Davis, Todd Barron, James Brancati, and more.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to go all the way back to J.D. Gunn there in 14th, and Jesse Clossey's not far away, as Lassard now is going to get thrown onto the rumble strip. Finally getting by was John Price for the 6th spot. That cost them both some time, some valuable time at that. Then the MGM able to go by. Brad Davis there now into 7th. Brancati the next one to maybe make a charge at Lassard. And it's felt a bit like the 2 Steel Motorsports Bureau Art drivers against the MGMs of the likes of Lindsell and Bradford. And you can even kind of throw Brad Davis up and into that mix. Sean Meyer's kind of been the only one, or the Switzerland amongst that lead pack, because it seems like the blue and green and the red and white machines haven't meshed super well. They've definitely traded some paint, traded some stickers, but I'll give all of them credit. I don't think any of them have really run the number 30 wrong yet in this main, and I say that with a very key word because we're still just past halfway.
Yeah, well, Sean Meyer is a very respected driver here in this Masters class. He's been going after it for such a long time that most of these drivers, especially the likes of Bradford, Fagan, Steele, have raced with him for such a long time. Even Lindsell as well, back in the senior medium days when most of them were running that class consistently. So 12 laps in the books here. We're about to have 7 to go. So for Bradford and Lindsell, 2 MGMs leading. Sean Meyer unfortunately lost his Coyote counterpart early on in this one, but another one is on its way. John Price in P6. He's by himself, and he's quicker than Brad Davis and Lassard, but I think he's quick enough to get to the top 5 because the way they have been racing at this stage in the race, he's got pace in that 4.44 machine, and I think he's also driving a little bit frustrated.
I wouldn't blame him. I mean, he probably feels like he should be up in there in that group. Granted, a little bit wide in the grid corner. Now to the last turn. This will be 12 down, 6 laps left with a chance to try and put himself onto the box here in Charlotte, North Carolina. Behind him, Lassard going back in on the 181. Banging pods right there through turns 1 and 2. He'll get it done. Brad Davis goes back a spot. Eric Lassard backing into 7th. Todd Barron now on the cusp of this group. He ended last night just outside the top 10. He's inside it now on the number 11. P10 right now for the Doc. Then behind him, James Insko, Ron Kleiss. Another couple drivers from the Legends class that are trying to take that knowledge from earlier, put it to good use here today in the final session for the veterans on the weekend. Coming now to what'll be 5 laps to go, 13 down, and Sean Meyer had a good run going for a bit there in 3rd. He's going to get washed to 4th. Still side by side with Mark Steele for that spot as we see a change in the lead.
Linsell through on Bradford, and then Eric Fagan in that 3rd place spot. I think if you're Sean Meyer, you can pretty much write off that 4th place spot because Mark Steele is going to want to get back to the bumper of his teammate Fagan. So do not be surprised if after the S is here through the back straightaway, we see a poke to the inside from Mark Steele. You see Sean Meyer giving the signal to work together, and at this point Steele says, all right, I will help you get back to my teammate, then I'll probably pass you and get back to 4th here because the top 3 are starting to fade away. It's an MGM 1-2. Eric Fagan, known as one of the best pushers in the business, sits in 3rd. And if there's a driver that you probably want behind you at this stage in the race, it is Eric Fagan. That being said, he's no longer an MGM driver. He's with Steel Motorsports, so he doesn't really owe those 2 guys anything up front, and the moment this race really kicks off, expect Eric to really shake it up.
Another spot made up there we caught as well further back in that kind of 3rd group by J.D. Gunn in the 14. He got by James Insko. So did Ron Kleiss. So Insko's back to 13th now. They're trying to connect the dots, get to that 2nd pack. And the leaders, like you said, Eric Fagan, he's been teammates with Zach Linsell probably more years of his life than he's not been. But his teammate now is the man that just got into 4th, Mark Steele. Most importantly, though, now the battling for 4th has allowed John Price to get a sniff of the draft, and it's 2v2v2 if you want to even draw those boundary lines, because it didn't seem like it when we saw Zach Linsell go by Jamie Bradford just moments ago down here at turn 1. For now, Jamie's going to stay tucked in. 3 laps remain, and Eric Fagan remains right on the back bumper of the 22 as well.
Yeah, Linsell's go-kart's rolling really good at this stage in the race. I mean, from center off, his go-kart's just free enough to where it's making it tough for Bradford and Fagan to even get to the bumper of Linsell. I mean, through the S's on the back straightaway there, Linsell has a slight buffer. I mean, I think it's going to, change as this race goes on with 2 to go as Price goes through on Sean Meyer, his Coyote teammate there, and Price looking racy enough, but he needs a couple more things to fall his way. Such as the top 3 need to start racing for Price's sake and for Mark Steele as well. But like I mentioned with Linsell, he's now been caught up to by Bradford. But again, through the center and off the corner, he's able to pull enough of a gap that it takes a bit of a lunge, especially for your teammate to make a move.
2 laps to go. Double sticks from Jason Burgess down the front stretch. Your top 3 still Linsell, Bradford, Fagan. Here's edge of the top 10. Lassard and company there. That's 7th, 8th, 9th. Back to Todd Barron. Who did we lose out of that main group? We lost someone out of our kind of main contingent.
Might have been Brucati.
Yeah. James Brancotti back. Barron forward. Brad Davis was the one who's faded out of the top 10 in the 181 MGM. So 1 less blue and green machine. They've got 2 senior wins on the day. They were phenomenally fast in the Legends class. Can they get the Masters win? Well, they're going to get split up. Bradford back to 2nd. Eric Fagan into P2. And now he begins the hunt for his longtime teammate, Zach Linsell, for the first time on the biggest stage that CKNA has to offer, the 3 national tours, Spring Nats, Summer Nats, and Grand Nats. They are on opposite sides of the war. Steel Motorsports, Barrel Art for Eric Fagan, MGM for Zach Linsell.
As advertised here in the Masters class, who's going to come out on top? And this is going according to plan for Eric Fagan. sat third most of the race, peeks the nose to the inside, uses a bit of the side pod there to maybe make it stick, but Linsell might have to go over the curbing there, and now here comes Bradford.
Last turn, Linsell low. Bradford fills the gap. He'll get a nose to the inside. Look at the over-under from John Price. Fagan into the dirt. Zach Linsell will score the win. Second to Price from 6th on the last lap to 2nd. Mark Steele 3rd. Sean Meyer 4th. Jamie Bradford 5th. Eric Fagan off the podium. He falls to 6th. Oh my goodness, what a run and what a heartbreak in the last 500 feet. Eric Lassard, James Brancotti, Todd Barron, Ron Kleiss. Another crazy finish here. This last hairpin, it just provides so much action. It has for so many years. That's why when they rebuilt this place, they kept the original layout to the best of their ability, because it just races so well.
I want to give a quick shout out to Eric Fagan, actually, by the way. Probably not what he wants to hear, considering he's off the podium right now and probably a little bit frustrated, but he could have, by all means, really used up Linsell there in the double left, but he decided he wants to keep it clean. We saw the same thing in the Legends class with Piggy and James Perkins, so really good to see the older guys given the room, showing that the racing is possible around this place without putting people in the dirt. Maybe not the same can be said for the guys at our screen in the senior medium class who always put on a show for us.
Yeah, I think we're in for maybe a little bit more carnage coming up when you got some of these young guns trying to make a name for themselves here on the first of the big 3 CKNA majors on the year with the closing race of the weekend, senior medium. There's nothing left after this one. But yeah, tip of the hat to Eric Fagan. He's been known over the years to use up side pods. My short stint driving with Andy Gurnan and the Vemi Kart USA squad many years ago, a little ways back. Eric was driving for him that year up at the Newcastle Club races, and Andy said by the 3rd sticker kit, he just stopped putting them on. But Eric Fagan, to his credit, drove Linsell to the limit, not over it. To Zach's credit as well, he didn't put Eric up and on 2 wheels or on the curb. Coming out of that chicane, he knew he had the inside for the next corner, and a lot of respect, like you said. We weren't sure kind of what was going to happen there between 2 former teammates. You never really know. I think those 2 drivers could be very happy with how they raced each other. Obviously, Fagan was, I think, a bit more frustrated with Jamie Bradford than anything, but he may have also been misdirected on that because there was just a swarm of them coming off the last turn.
And for John Price as well, I mean, the price is right for him. He made it work, right? I mean, we were kind of mentioning his name throughout the race, went purple on multiple occasions in that one. I think if there was maybe 1 or 2 more laps, he would have had a sniff at the top spot there, but a P2 finish for a guy that sat in 7th for most of the race. While the senior medium guys are on the grid and getting ready to roll out momentarily, we're going to sit on out of the grid. Caleb, what you got for us?
Thank you there, Alex. And I want to remind you guys of what we saw yesterday at the end of heat race number 2. This field is completely mixed up. Some of the heavy hitters are way in the back, and a couple of young guns as well have worked their way up to the front. One of the big ones who we saw be very quick in senior light and as well in the senior medium class, Dylan Amundsen, is starting back near the 30s after that wreck took nearly half the field out and half of the front runners as well. So he's going to start way, way back in the order, as well as a couple of other drivers who find themselves into that mix. I see Kelvin Zing, he's just outside of the top 10, but talk about the rookie contingency here as well. Lucas Steck starting further back. Cade Yeager was very, very strong yesterday on his BJR PPK Coyote machine, and a lot of senior drivers up at the front. James Overbeck, Christopher McKeithen going to lead this field to green in a couple of moments' time.
Yeah, let's look exactly at that here as Caleb keeps us filled in. He'll have more probably to tell us throughout the race, but your starting lineup for senior medium's main event. Christopher McKeithen in the number 19 BJR Coyote right there on screen. Blue, white, and black covering the front row between himself and his PPK teammate in James Overbeck. Colin Warren and Owen Lloyd. Usually, again, I would expect this to be and describe it to be a very tame second row, but they were pretty racy earlier in that senior light main event. They're lined up next to each other, and Lloyd's already got himself a second and a first on the day. He'd love to close it off with another triple podium run.
And his teammate Colin Aiken there has a first and a second. They pretty much switched roles here, and they actually have a chance I don't know the history behind it, but I think it would be the first time that two drivers finish 1, 2, 3 times in a weekend. That would be historic stuff for Owen Lowe and Colin Aiken and the MGM crew as a whole. But in front of Aiken, Wakefield and Cade Yeager. For a driver that's making his debut in the senior class, I remember him when he was running the cadet field 7 years ago. I mean, he's super young. He's a little bit taller than little Sizzle Isaac Malquit we saw in the senior light field, but not a whole lot bigger. But he's making these senior guys feel like he's a veteran at this point. Aiken in the 7th place. Gavin Isaacs missed the senior light main event. He didn't even go out for the LCQ. He didn't bother. He just wanted to focus on the senior medium main event. He rolls off 8th alongside behind him Jared Clark and Austin Hill, two drivers that have had quiet weekends. But we spoke with Jared Clark last night. He said, listen, compared to last year where I got wrecked almost every single time, it's a much better spring Nats for him. 2 P5s on the day. It puts him 9th here for the feature.
You saw a couple big names in the middle of the 11th to 20th starting spots, like Caleb Gaffera, who led us to green in senior light. However, let's check out some of the other notables starting even further back. We saw James Perkins get the win earlier today in Legends. His son Jed rolls from 25th, dead center of this 50-car grid alongside Josh Steifel, Bryce Frank, Addison Ianello back behind them. You can see Will Lawler, who had a good run and then a scary moment in his most recent main event, 23rd for the 100. And we'll go to the final couple rows on the grid past Dylan Amundsen, who had that he had that scary moment where he got kind of stuck right in the middle of the pack last night when they were all scattered around him. And thankfully, he was able to point his way into the show, rolling from 32nd. Keep your eyes on the 136 to make some moves here. And then your 4 that have transferred at the very back, the very, very back, racing their way in. Brady Atwood, Ashton Wheeler, Hunter Bolton, Cam Burris did end up getting promoted into this main. Brady Eichhoff in as well. Elmer Edmondson, one of the last few that pointed in. And then it's James Strobko, William Zuba, Cash Perkins, Cameron Reed. She's back after that scary moment in senior light. Rolls from 42nd alongside Braden Heber. So 50 deep, final run. Elmer Edmondson trying to catch up to the field. We'll get ready to go. Here we are, senior medium, into the tram lines for the last time this weekend. The CKNA Spring Nationals at America's home for racing, Charlotte Motor Speedway. And I don't think they like this one enough to give us a shot, so we're going to send them around for attempt number 2.
And attempt number 2 means one more chance at it for McKeithen and Overbeck to get it right. Otherwise, they're going to roll off 5th and 6th instead, as per the rules from Cup Karts North America. It's a BJR front row of McKeithen and Overbeck, and those are two guys that have had pretty solid weekends. McKeithen had a chance at a senior light win, and for about 10 feet, he had the lead on the final corner until Colin Warren got the crossover move, and then we saw the likes of Owen Lloyd and Aiken make it happen in that senior light race.
We've got a sign coming out here on the front straightaway. Not sure which driver we're going to. Oh, off. Black flag for... Who do we got there? That's not Sobiek, would it be?
I think it's Justin Wishard there on the 20 machine.
Yeah, Justin Wishard. Black flag before the green.
So
what for?
We're going to go around again because of that. So I think this is one of those situations where they kind of give them the benefit of the doubt here. This won't count as a go-around for McKeithen and Overbeck. But, yeah, I can't imagine what it's for. I wonder if it's a mechanical that they noticed.
I mean, it looked like he still had his neck brace on. It's not like he snuck out onto the grid. He was pointed through to roll from 39th per our timing and scoring. So nothing out of sorts that what we can see. We'll see if maybe Caleb could let us know after we get going here, as these are boots on the ground. We're going to stay locked in, though, on the carts on the racetrack. Christopher McKeithen, James Overbeck, front row, 18 laps. Let's send them. Green flag in the air from Jason Burgess, and we're racing down to turn 1.
Wow, the inside row got a crazy jump on the outside row there, and Warren goes to P2. A decent job for Overbeck to hold on a third there, but we're side by side all the way throughout the field through the S's, 3 wide even. That's Cade Yeager. I think he's lost a couple spots in the opening couple stages.
Oh, we got a couple carts together here in the chicane getting onto the backstretch, but I think they're all good. And just like that, Colin Warren is well outnumbered up front here by 3 BJR PPK Coyotes. And here comes Owen Lloyd to pull alongside him as Ben Lyda's gone around in the end of the backstretch. It is McKeithen, Overbeck, and moving into third, Christopher Wakefield. What a start for the 27. Lloyd to fourth, and Colin Warren all the way back to fifth as we got 2 together. Henry Wheeler is involved. Brady Atwood involved as well. And 2 drivers crashing out here in the dog leg, it looked like. And I think it collected another one. We've lost 6th or 5 on this opening lap. And, well, we got to keep our eyes at the lead group, too. Change for second, change for the lead. New leader, the 211.
I will continue to reiterate the fact that where did he come from, right? Colin Warren dropped back to 4th and in 1 lap back up to the front here. It was a BJR 1, 2, 3 for the moment. Look at this group. That's the 416, Gavin Isaacs, Schiarello, Jared Clark going after it. More shuffling for position. Owen Lloyd, Cade Yeager, Jared Clark there going after it. And the more you fight, the more that the 2 BJR drivers will pull away because they've gotten back around Colin Warren.
Still wheel to wheel there for teammates. Cade Yeager's going to get in line just ahead of Clark. Then it'll be back to McKeithen right or Austin Hill actually right there in the mix of it. Another new name and face to learn as McKeithen leads Overbeck and Warren away. Big mover Gavin Isaacs able to kind of latch onto the back of that group, and the other driver involved, besides Brady Atwood and Henry Wheeler, it's another fast young man. Cash Perkins was the one that was in the wall on the BJR PPK Coyote. More passing here in the grid corner, and that, of course, took us right by Caleb Vieska. What do you have for us, Caleb?
Thank you, Xander. I spoke to Paulie Massimino on the grid here, and he was telling all of his BJR PPK drivers to be aggressive, get out in front, and have control of this race. And I think that's what we're seeing out of all of those drivers because they're not letting Colin Warren take control of this race.
Indeed. A lot of teamwork, a lot of white and red there on the leaderboard pylon here in the opening stages of this main event for 206 Senior Medium. Here we go with the top 3 trying to maintain the gap. These are unlikely allies in the form of Colin Warren and James Overbeck, but I think they're more so just trying to limit the number of carts up at the front of the pack here with a good gap back to 4th. In fact, I think it's gotten a lot bigger. Owen Lloyd, Cade Yeager, were they side by side a moment ago? They were. And Chris Wakefield has gotten by both of them.
Yeah, and there goes Gavin Isaacs now on Jared Clark. A decent crossover attempt from Clark. They're going to be side by side down the front straightaway. You talked about unlikely allies. It's just one of those things where in 4-stroke racing, sometimes you got to keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Not that they are enemies, but they don't have the best of history, those two, Overbeck and Warren. And right now, Warren maybe not wanting to work together, but again, you can't really afford to fight too much. And Warren's a smart enough driver. He knows. He's looking back. He sees Wakefield and Lloyd closing that gap. Across the timing loop last time around, it was almost a second back to those 2 drivers. Visually, it looks closer.
One driver on the move here, Eli Fox. He had that heartbreaking early exit from one of the previous senior mains on the day right here coming out of this section. But aboard the new gen machine, he's gotten himself into the top 10, up a net gain of 4. Pass for second here as we go back up front. Colin Warren splits up the duo. He pushed them. He gave the pair a good amount of laps there to try and help build the gap. But being third in line, it hasn't paid off. And now he says, all right, we've got a pack forming. I want to be in control of it. Back to the lead for Colin Warren.
What a move from Colin Warren. And here comes Overbeck's teammate. There goes Wakefield. There goes Lloyd. What a move up and over the curbing. Usually if you hit that curb, it actually slows your momentum down. But with the run the MGM driver had, it's not going to last for long, though. Overbeck back through. He wants to be the one behind his teammate. And here comes Cade Yeager, Aitken, McKeithen back through on Colin Warren. And now Wakefield's going to try his luck to see if he can get around Warren as well.
You know, Alex, usually, as we've talked, team racing, working with someone, so helpful, so critical at this type of low horsepower racing on a big racetrack. But I feel like for some of the guys that join the BJR PPK crew, that it almost puts a target on your back because there's so many of them that it's almost all but frustrated everyone else. Colin Warren, Owen Lloyd, I think one of the last carts they'd want to push across the line, even though those two haven't been on the same terms today, would be one of these blue and white carts.
I mean, Colin Warren's got a tall task ahead of him there. It's a BJR 2, 3, and 4, and somehow they've all found each other on the racetrack, because at one point they were, I think, first, third, and sixth in this group, and now again they're in this trio on the inside of this group of 6. There goes McKeithen, there goes Wakefield, and I think Warren might get held out to dry here on the outside. Overbeck might push him out of road. He won't, so Warren's going to keep that 3rd spot. He'll be on the outside here through the S's. That's going to give Overbeck a chance. There goes Aitken as well, and so from 1st to 5th goes the VLR of Colin Warren. Here comes Yeager, Lloyd, and you can pretty much look back to Caleb Gaffera for the final driver in this group.
Reagan Seville joining the party as well. I mean, we got a lot of them now. And it is a 1-2-3 for McKeithen, Wakefield, Overbeck, side by side. Caleb Gaffera now getting into the mix of it all. He said last night he needed a little bit more in his medium kart. Looks like he's got something. I don't know if it's all enough to fight for the race win, but when they fight like this, well, anyone has a chance. Look at the rookie Yeager getting out of shape, trying to pay some respect and not really throw it into the side too hard on Colin Warren. And he cuts him a good break. Owen Lloyd was right behind, ready to pounce, though. He was in a tough spot. Austin Hill still there in the 39 as we head down the backstretch. Still only halfway in, as Jared Clark is the next one to make a move. He goes by Eli Fox in the bend.
Well, now Jared Clark is right behind his teammate Austin Hill, so BJR taking over the top 10 right now at the moment. Last lap when they cross the stripe, as you see a point there to Lloyd. Yeah, that's the telltale signal to Cade Yeager. I'm going to go on Warren. Whether you follow me or not, that's up to you. All this shuffling for position has unleashed Wakefield and McKeithen to create a slight buffer on the drivers behind him. Overbeck, Aitken, Lloyd. What I was going to note was Warren 2 laps ago now, he had a pretty frustrated look on his, behind his helmet and flailing his arms to Overbeck. I don't think he really loved the move that was put on him last lap. I think he's frustrated, but at the end of the day, I haven't seen anything that has been over the line. I think Warren's just frustrated with the way this race has unfolded for him.
Another spot up for Caleb Gaffera. Let's go down to Caleb Vieska here while things have subsided just for the moment. Caleb?
Thank you, Xander. A quick report on the driver that was black flag pre-race, Wishart. Apparently they had the wrong driver in the go-kart, so Wishart wasn't the driver in the kart. They put in another driver, and CKNA officials noticed, and a black flag was issued.
Wow.
There you have it. Yeah, you need to be the one. If you qualified the kart to make the main, you've got to be the one to drive the kart in the main here. No points, no substitute drivers needed. These are all individual one-offs, and that's why we refer to them as the CKNA majors. And this is a major send from James Overbeck on Colin Aitken. Lloyd now to the high side with help from Colin Warren. 3 wide behind. Yeager down low. Aitken bails out of it. And look at the lead it has gifted Christopher Wakefield and Christopher McKeithen. James Overbeck into 3rd, causing some chaos and buying his teammates some real estate.
Yeah, I was about to mention, whether it's intentional or not, he's playing blocker for the 2 BJR drivers up front. Lloyd goes through. Warren wants to get in as well. And I don't know how much that signal from Lloyd of please push me is going to do anything the way this race has panned out. Overbeck back on the inside of Warren. Yeager's going to try to go through further back. We're side by side even more. And whoa, contact. Warren, Yeager, Aitken almost coming together. Look at this. Caleb G as Austin Hill, I believe, goes around there.
Fox, Eli Fox. And my mistake on the MGM in this division, the new gen kart in the light class. But the Bradford Racing MGM slides up the berm, and it's another heartbreak here in Charlotte as Reagan Seville goes around right in front of the field at the end of the back straightaway.
That's a heart and mouth moment there for Reagan Seville and us here in the booth. You never want to see a kart start rolling backwards onto the racetrack. Great evasive driving for the rest of the field, but it is, again, created some more chaos. That was for 9th when Seville spun, so it's unleashed Jared Clark. They have now, I think, given up the position there to Eli Warren. Yeah, Warren started that lap 14th up to 11th now, so it's Warren. Antoine Lacherie, haven't spoken about him much so far today, up to 12th. Clark down to 13th. Lucas Theck in his senior, one of the rookies in the senior class, up to 14th now.
Yeah, Colin Warren basically sacrificed himself there, Alex, to try and at least get Owen Lloyd free from the fray. And in the contact he had with Cade Yeager, it sent him back down the board a little bit. This is Eli Warren, no relation, leading Lacherie, and Jared Clark here, just hovering the top 10. In that group, Lucas Theck, another rookie, Kelvin Zing, who ran up front here last year in light and is having a decent run here in the medium main event. just inside the top 15. Here's Clark at the front of it in the 16, the blue and white machine. Zing on the outside of Lucas Theck, side by side with Will Lawler in the 100. We mentioned Lawler on the march forward. He also started pretty far back, 23rd. But James Overbeck linking up with Owen Lloyd to try and hunt down his teammates out in front. Little gap back to find Caleb Gaffera, who's marched his way from 15th to 5th. But McKeithen and Wakefield are glued, and they put 3/10 on this trio right here last time by.
Well, if you're James Overbeck, I wonder what the mindset is at this point of the race. I mean, you either intentionally or unintentionally played blocker for your two teammates out front. You've created this gap. Do you help Lloyd get back to the teammates and risk maybe an MGM winning? I think we just got our answer. There goes Overbeck. He wants to make it a BGR 1-2-3. Gaffera through as well, and so for a driver that was talking about how much he was struggling on the medium chassis, making it work here up to P4.
Now what does Caleb Gaffera do? He also struggled, but definitely made the right adjustments to put himself in an opportunity for some hardware today. And he's going to try and help out his fellow MGM in Owen Lloyd, who's going to push Overbeck a little bit wide there at the end of the back straight. Overbeck still in the middle of the two of them, and closing back in is the wily vet Colin Warren there on that TS Racing VLR. Colin Aitken pushing him. Here's Lloyd again on Overbeck. Again, James hangs tough on alongside him. Down the front stretch. Owen check in. Here comes Colin Warren now to the inside. This is all allowing Caleb Gaffera to now get away. And the podium spots drop from 5 available to 3 available. Now it might just be 2 left for this pack. There's only 2.5 laps to go, Alex.
For Caleb Gaffera, I think this is as frustrating as it can get, because if Owen Lloyd can get around Overbeck here, at this point the laps are starting to tick down a little bit too much. As Warren, I think Warren had finally had enough of Overbeck and put him off to the wayside there.
Well, for a guy that normally ends up being the one that gets pushed off into the dirt for crowding drivers, maybe a little bit more than some of the others, Colin Warren adapting with the times of these kids that will clear themselves, and he clears himself off James Overbeck as we see Bryce Frank on the MGM is off to the wayside. He'll fall down the board. And what in the world just happened? Colin Warren just ended up back near Overbeck again. I thought he just led that pack through, but no, looks like Yeager got by and Austin Hill did too.
Yeah. Oh man. Colin Warren, I think a little bit too opportunistic of a move there on Austin Hill, and it's going to essentially end Austin Hill's race. He'll have to pit without a front fairing. And for Colin Warren, I think this is as, I don't want to say out of control, but I think he's maybe lost tempers a little bit there, frustrated with the way he's been raced.
Well, he's definitely just trying to hang on now. Will Lawler, Antoine Lachery, Kelvin Zing now the next ones to try and knock on the door, the 211. White flag in the air, by the way, folks. There is still a race for the win going on, and they're nearly 3 seconds clear of everybody. It's Wakefield pushing there on the red and black and the all-black helmet with Christopher McKeithen, the standout surprise superstar from his first year at the Grands. Last year, another win as well. This year, to kick off the big run through the summer stretch, well, he's going at it with his new teammate. Door to door, side by side, into the last run to the grid corner. He sends it. Wakefield can't complete the crossover, and he bogged himself down. Now McKeithen with a full car length to the last turn. He'll go center track. Wakefield still gets the crossover done. We're going to drag race to the line, to the end. Give it to Christopher Wakefield.
Wow, Christopher Wakefield gets it done. McKeithen, I think he's going to kick himself there looking back at the Kart Chaser broadcast. He defended clean air on the final corner, in my opinion. Left the door open on the crossover for Wakefield. Further back, Gaffera, what a drive from 15th to 3rd, and was as fast, if not faster, than the top 2 for majority of the second half of that race. It's an MGM 3-4 with Owen Lloyd. Cade Yeager, in his debut in the senior class, a podium for him. Colin Aitken 6th, Overbeck 7th, Isaacs, Clark, Lucas Theck. Where did Colin Warren end up? 11th in front of Lawler, Zing, Lachery, and Eli Warren at 15th.
How about the biggest movers in this one here from way back? Mo drives up from 45th. Elmer Edmondson into 18th, just ahead of fellow MGM Dylan Amundsen there, who drove from 32nd to 19th. A couple of the other LCQ drivers with some charges up the leaderboard. How about Cam Burris from dead last, 28th for Cam. Now back here just outside past Hunter Bolton, who drove up from 49th to 29th. Reagan Seville ends 30th. Cameron Reed 31st. And then you get to your myriad of DNFs beginning just on the early 40s all the way down to, well, the couple that didn't make it out here. Brady Atwood, no sign of him. Jake Havelow the same. And then, of course, Justin Wishart, black flag for, well, a driver swap. Not sure who would have been the one behind the wheel. It wasn't Justin, and they weren't allowed to join us. So we are going to go and get a word with all of our podium finishers. Cade Yeager, a rookie on the box here at Charlotte. Owen Lloyd and Caleb Gaffera. The pair of MGMs end up 3rd and 4th, just outside the backyard of where those go-karts are manufactured here in North Carolina. And then, of course, the Christophers, the new teammates, 1 and 2. It was a day at duos, Alex. Pairs, Owen Lloyd and Colin Aitken, 1-2 in the light and the medium, or the light and the heavy divisions, and Wakefield and McKeithen on the medium class.
Yeah, I mean, no surprise there. First, we heard from Caleb Vieska down on the grid talking to Paulie, saying, listen, the goal for the BGR crew naturally is be aggressive, but do it together as best as you can, and that was clearly executed to perfection for the BGR crew, and I think the MVP of that team might have to go to James Overbeck for creating that large gap for the top 2 to the rest of the field. Further back, Caleb Gaffera, I mean, I was going to mention it before really the chaos ensued with Warren and Overbeck and a couple other drivers, is Caleb G, those last 6 laps, was 2 to 3 tenths faster than Wakefield and McKeithen. I mean, once he pulled away from the group behind him with all the, the action that happened, then the lap time slowed down. But I think if Caleb G had the help of Owen Lloyd, this could have been a slightly different result. I still think Wakefield and McKeithen had a big enough buffer to make it happen, but it would have been interesting. Nonetheless, an incredible drive for Caleb G, and like you mentioned, I mean, it's just the way 4-stroke racing works, the way this racetrack races, to have, as best as you can, teammates 1-2, right? We saw the MGMs dominate the senior heavy, senior light side of things. BJR at least gets 1 on the docket there on a 1-2 for senior medium.
We're going to step aside for the final time here today, folks. On the other side of this break, we're going to hear from all your top finishers in that senior medium main event before we close things out from Charlotte Motor Speedway.
Brandon, why are there all these charges
stop.
for just over $200?
I'm tired of all this branding business, okay? Branding this, branding that. Why are there all these expenses on AKR over $200? We know, okay? Take a walk with me. At Shop AKR, they have everything you need to start racing at a very cheap and affordable price. They have MXC rims, they got chains, electrical stands, tilt seats, they got MXCs. And if you didn't know, on top of that, any purchase in the continental US over $200, that's free shipping.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be in the AKR Anonymous meeting over there?
Dude, I'm doing a commercial.
Dude, we have no time. It's about to start.
Stop. We all love Shop AKR. Me? More than others. What do I get at Shop AKR?
MXC rims.
All the way up to the finish line. Who is it going to be? It is Sean Perez who wins in Crescent.
Ty Fisher wins $1,000 in KA100 Junior.
Alex Stanfield played it perfectly here. Told him to wait. Stanfield wins the Duffy in 2024 for TV Karts.
Amarillo Kart Complex is now the official distributor for TV Kart in the continental U.S. Become a dealer today.
Ready to elevate your racing game? Introducing Apex, your 24/7 personal karting coach. Apex is your ultimate racing companion. Get expert advice anytime, anywhere. From setup tips to mental strategies, Apex has you covered. Fine-tune your car for peak performance. Get personalized advice on adjustments like tire pressure and chassis settings. Apex helps you master the track, from overtaking strategies to wet weather driving techniques, and to resilience to perform under pressure. Apex keeps you focused, confident, and race ready.
Using Apex is simple. Sign up, ask your question, and receive instant advice from top-tier coaches. With Apex, your personal karting coach, you're never alone. Get instant expert advice on everything from setup to technique. Unlock your full potential with Apex. Your journey to victory starts here. Happy racing.
Are you looking to take the next step in your racing journey? Well, look no further than PitFit.
With 2 locations in Charlotte, North Carolina, and Indianapolis, Indiana, PitFit trains drivers all the way from grassroots level karting to IndyCar and NASCAR, with top-of-the-line personalized coaching to improve physical and cognitive fitness.
For more information on programs, check out PitFit on Instagram or Facebook today. DPK Americas is bridging the gap between the U.S. and the 2-time world champion DPK Alonso Kart factory team in Europe.
In partnership with Team Binnick, they offer drivers a complete career path from the Americas to Europe that allows them to continue their driver development on both sides of the world, all underneath the DPK umbrella.
For more information, contact DPK Americas at max@drivensm.com to take the next step in your driver development journey today.
Are you ready to get behind the wheel? From Formula One to NASCAR and IndyCar, all the pros start here. For more information, check us out online at mcckarting.com or call us and go racing today.
K1 Circuit, the world's greatest outdoor karting facility, is now open. Open karting and rental session schedules are available online. Rentals will resume today after the race event at 5 p.m. Thanks to Kart Chaser for live streaming the event at K1 Circuit, your coverage will resume shortly.
Well, you always remember your first, and it was a first major weekend aboard the BJR PPK Coyote for Christopher Wakefield, and now, well, it's also his first major win in seniors. Let's go down to Caleb and catch up with him.
Thank you, Xander. Indeed. How about it? What a start to your rookie season here, Christopher. A winner in your first try. Talk to me about it.
Yeah, the race was really intense, but once I just got behind Christopher McKeith, and we just practiced how we push, and we just did what we did.
And talk about that last lap as well. You and Christopher, it was close all the way to the line, but you were able to get it done in the end.
Yeah, I just told him, like, battle on the last lap, and then, take the sticker kits off. But we did really clean, and I really enjoyed it.
Who would you like to thank for your first victory here?
I want to thank the whole PPK BJR team, Coyote, and my Jasons and Scuba for the great wrenching. my family.
Well, there you guys have him, Christopher Wakefield, and I'm sure we're going to be hearing his name a whole lot more this year in CKNA. Back.
Thank you, Caleb. Christopher McKeith and Christopher Wakefield. A perfect display of what teamwork looks like. Teammates sharing the same first name, but it was a different Christopher winning his first here, just as we saw with McKeithen not too long ago. Christopher Wakefield, as Caleb mentioned, a rookie winner, a debut on new product, new environment, and he gets to celebrate here today. Back to you, Caleb.
Thank you, Xander. It seems like just yesterday you were the rookie getting that big win. Now you have your teammate doing it. How does it feel, finishing second? Obviously, I know you'd like to be on that top step.
Yeah, I'd like to win, but finishing 1-2 with my teammate is always great.
And talk to me about that race. You and Christopher were able to get away, and you were in control for the majority of it.
Yeah, I started pole, and then I got shuffled back a little bit. Someone kept trying to pass me. I kept going back to the lead, and then I looked back and saw Christopher and James in third, and I knew to put my head down, and we pulled away.
And I want to talk about your career here a little bit as well. You've gotten very, very involved in the Coyote chassis and with PPK and John Seglem. How have you seen the development of this chassis through the years?
I mean, we've come a long way. I mean, my first year here was 2023 with Coyote at this track, and we finished all right. I think we finished fourth. Definitely didn't have the fastest kart, but I mean, we've come a long way, and I'm really proud of everybody on the team, and everybody made great progress this weekend, even our juniors and cadets.
Well, there you guys have it, Christopher McKeith, and always a factor when you go into senior medium. Thank you, Christopher.
Thank you, Caleb. Christopher McKeithen ends his day here with another piece of hardware, P2, and as he mentioned, a solid outfit, solid performance to close it out for those BJR PPK machines, first and second in senior medium. We'll head back down for some more.
Thank you, Xander. Caleb G, a good result, and I heard you say you brought that senior medium kart back from the trenches inside of the top 5, right? Walk me through that race. It seemed like a wild one from the MGM seat.
Yeah, I mean, it started out, even the beginning of the weekend, we were struggling to meet him a little bit, but we brought it back there in the final, started 14th on the grid, and then brought it back to P3.
I talked to you and your dad a little bit. What continues to bring you back to events like this? You know, you're obviously very busy on the USF 2000 side of things. What continues to drive you to come back and race here at CKNA?
I mean, I always love coming out here and running Briggs. Paul and April always come out here, and they want me to come drive, so I'm like, oh, absolutely. I mean, it's something to drive, and you'll catch me next weekend with host driver development at USPKS in Daytona.
Well, there you go. Looks like we're going to be seeing a whole lot more of Caleb G, Xander. Thank you.
His Instagram handle is Caleb G Racer, and he is a racer at that, folks. From the road to IndyCar to 206 action to K100 X30 Pro, and well, if he had an option to hop in a shifter, I bet he would compete in that class as well. Great run today here to end up on the box in his backyard.
Thank you, Xander. Owen, 2 1-2 finishes for you guys at South Georgia Karting, just a little bit ways away. Why do you think the race unfolded the way it did there?
Yeah, we had a great starting spot, great pace all weekend. Back in the S's over there was some contact between 2 drivers, and I was behind it, so 2 drivers just checked out, and I were able to recover.
And looking forward, right, to MCC at Pit Race. The Summer Nats is an event that's treated you very well, as well as weekend, or an event that's treated you very well in the years past. How are you kind of feeling going into that after the great weekend you've kind of had here?
Yeah, I'm pretty confident we have top pace, at least a top 5 for sure, and I'm looking forward to it.
Who would you like to thank for the effort all weekend long, because you've been a factor in all 3 classes?
I thank MGM, Paul and April Rice, of course, and my family, and Mike Capps.
There you guys have from Owen Lloyd. Thank you.
Thank you.
For the second consecutive second CKNA major that we've covered in a row, I should be remiss to step over the Winter Nats from Jacksonville, of course, but from a triple podium at the Grands, another triple podium here for Owen Lloyd in Charlotte. Great stuff.
Thank you there, Xander. And you talk about podiums. Cade Yeager, a very, very good weekend for you. I mean, for being a rookie, being up there fighting against the top guys, how would you summarize your first weekend in the senior category?
I'm pretty happy with my finish in medium, getting a top 5. Light didn't go as well, but I'm just happy that I was up here. Like, I didn't expect great results after practice, but this really just proved a point for me.
What has kind of been the biggest learning curve for you here this weekend racing against some of the seniors?
Just the racecraft you kind of have to develop to race with these guys. pushing, passing, when to do it, and then what people to work with, what drivers you want to work with. I don't know. Just all these other factors lead up to where you finish.
Who would you like to thank for a very successful, I guess, rookie debut for you?
John Seglum, PPK, Jim Lepar, Coyote, Lawson from Lawson Speed Shop, yeah, and my dad.
Well, there you guys have him, Cade Yeager, a rookie who I'm sure we're going to be hearing a whole lot more of this year. Thank you, Cade.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Cade Yeager ends out with a podium finish. He completes the 5 in total. That'll be getting some hardware here from Charlotte Motor Speedway, folks. And, well, Caleb, Alex, this has been a pleasure for myself to join and call the racing action with all of you, and for everyone from Charlotte Motor Speedway's great staff and the amazing men and women that make these Cup Karts North America races happen. I know they would love to extend a heartfelt thank you to all of you, and safe travels on your way back home from America's home for racing. This concludes our coverage of the CKNA Spring Nationals. We'll see you back at Charlotte, I imagine, next year once again. But our next CKNA major on the docket, well, it'll be time for the Motorsports Country Club of Cincinnati to host its first ever Summer Nationals. And, of course, next week, as you heard it from Caleb, in 5 days' time, we're live from Daytona for the U.S. Pro Kart Series opener. It's time to kick off the regular season.